Central Takeover Hour. We are live out at SteelHands Brewing in KC. We're going to be out here until noon. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, and Chris Clark along with you as we get closer and closer to the start of football season. Just 17 days away, a little over 2 weeks until we see South Carolina tee things off with Old Dominion in week number 1. And of course, we got more camp rolling on this week. No, the scrimmage coming up this weekend as we're trying to figure out at some point what exactly this team is going to look like, what the depth chart is going to look like, and ultimately if this team is going to be good enough to, at the very least, get themselves back to a bowl game after a 5-7 season a year ago. And again, we're at this point, we're so close, we can almost taste it, but just a little bit longer, 2 more weeks until, or, for those of us that believe in week 0, 10 more days until we actually see football. But we know Wes is not one of those people.
I was about to say, is that a direct shot at
That is
me?
a direct shot at you, yes. Football's football, man.
That is not true. Low quality football, I guess, is football.
Football in Ireland.
That's right. You get game day that morning, whole 9 yards.
What time is that
At what
game?
time? Yeah,
Noon.
that's a nooner.
So it's like a 6, 7 o'clock kick out there, local time.
I don't know I'm
like,
bad at time conversions, math, all those different
It's
things.
like 6 or so hours ahead of us, but nevertheless, only 10 more days until that. 17 days until South Carolina kicks things off against Old Dominion. And yesterday, Wes and I, we talked to Ryan McGee of ESPN, and he gave us warning to not overlook Old Dominion, to pay respects to the Monarchs, because they're going to be a formidable opponent coming in here in a couple weeks. I dove into the numbers last night on Old Dominion, and yes, these are numbers based off last year, but they're a team that didn't add a whole lot out of the transfer portal, and in terms of the areas that they struggled with. And one thing that sticks out to me about this Old Dominion team that could be positive for South Carolina is their struggles on their offensive line. They were the lowest in sacks allowed, and they were the lowest in tackles for loss allowed last year. And when we talk about South Carolina and what we have as far as experience on the defensive front, at the edge room, at the linebacker spot, this could be a game that they could really tee off against that first opponent in Old Dominion and really put up some good numbers and build that confidence going into that week 2 matchup against Kentucky.
Yeah, I think certainly we've looked at that, not just defensive line, but the front 6 for South Carolina all off season, and kind of said, hey, this should be a positive for South Carolina. This should be an area where I think they'll be improved this year, an area where maybe they can have an advantage in a lot of the games that they play. And I think certainly, from that standpoint and knowing that information, I think you have to be careful what you try to glean from an opener, because you can get some of that, what you would call like fool's gold, where, hey, you think a team is really good and then it's just, hey, the team they played was not very good. Or sometimes when a team struggles in week 1, you kind of get this, doom and gloom, and it's more so just that basically you can chalk it up to being a week 1 situation where guys are out there for the first time, and there's always that big improvement, I think, from week 1 to week 2. So I think you do have to be careful about how much you take into one game. But I would think, knowing that about them, that and you said they have not added a bunch of guys from the portal.
No, and they're also replacing 3 of their starters from that offensive line a year ago.
Which might be a good thing.
It could be. But again, based on their numbers last season, it's an area that they certainly struggled with.
So, yeah, point I'm getting to would be that's maybe an area where if South Carolina does not sort of dominate them up front, when South Carolina's defense is on the field, that may be one of those things early on where you kind of put it in the back of your mind like, hey, that didn't quite play out the way I thought it would. I would imagine from just a game flow standpoint, what do we expect from this matchup? This should be a chance for South Carolina's defensive line to get out there, like Tyler said, have some success, sort of start. You want to start a season on a high note and get those guys going, get them rotating in and out like we've talked about really all off season, and see if you can go almost take over a game. It is very difficult to find much actual film out there, or what, it's not even film, it's TV copy, obviously, but you can go on YouTube and type in South Carolina football spring game. It pops up. South Carolina football versus Clemson. That pops up. Old Dominion. I was trying to find their spring game, and all you get is some like newscast stuff.
Yeah, I was watching their highlights from the famous Toastery Bowl last night where they blew the 28-point lead to Western Kentucky. That was the last time they were on the field.
It's a tough way to end a season.
Did you learn anything?
I mean, the offensive line's problem, or excuse me, their
They
their
blew a
offensive
28
line's
point lead.
problem. And yeah, just defense let them back in it in the second half. It's harder to kind of craft a narrative when you're just watching highlights of a game because you're only seeing certain plays. But I couldn't find a full copy of the famous Toastery Bowl, the former Bahamas Bowl from last year.
Quarterback is back, right?
Yeah, Grant Wilson's back, and he's a dual threat guy. Ran for 81 yards against Virginia Tech a season ago, which this is a Virginia Tech program, or excuse me, an Old Dominion program that's had success against Power 5 schools like Virginia Tech in years past. So they're no stranger to playing in against big time opponents in environments like that. But again, based on their numbers a year ago and what they're returning this year, I don't know how much better they're going to be coming into this game.
Correct me if I'm wrong. He's dual threat, but definitely he's not run first, right? Like it's more dual threat. Like I can run when I have to. I feel like
they do run a fair amount of RPO stuff based on what I saw in the bowl game last year. Again, when you have not the best offensive line, that can maybe hinder you a little bit. But looking at their passing offense, nothing special there. Mainly a run first type of team. But yeah, his feet are definitely going to be a factor.
Yeah, I mean, I went back and looked at his. So he transferred from Fordham, and I mean, he rushed the ball 130 times. He had 289 yards, 4 touchdowns. So this isn't a guy where
like sack numbers are going to ding
sack
that back
numbers.
a little
I'm
bit,
sure have skewed that, but it's not. I don't have the sack adjusted numbers. But the point is, this isn't a quarterback where you look at him and you go, "Oh, he's got 600 rushing yards over the course of a season." So, something to watch. But guys, I go back to, what we were talking about yesterday in the fast start. In that, last season you lost your opener. This is more along the lines of the 2022 opener where you had Georgia State. But man, I went back and looked because you remember after that Georgia State game, it's 35-14, but you never really felt like South Carolina was truly in control. South Carolina's defense had some struggles in that game. They made some big plays, but they gave up 200 net rushing yards in that game. Georgia State, Sean Elliott as the head coach, Georgia State rushed for 5 yards a carry. And I remember sitting there in the stadium watching it.
It felt like it.
Here's 5 yards. Here's 8 yards. People are just grumbling, rightfully so. So, I don't think Old Dominion, frankly, will be as adept, running the football as that Georgia State team is pretty darn good running the ball. A very mobile quarterback. They had 2 or 3 backs. One of them's playing for Missouri this year, and Marcus Carroll.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
that's a big time transfer.
Kid was good.
They had some guys. The point is, you don't want to, and we're getting ahead of ourselves, obviously, but you don't want to get past that game, win or loss, and say, Carolina gave up 175 rushing yards.
Sure.
I think that's a benchmark that fans are really looking to. Can you go out on the line of scrimmage and have a game one where you have controlled things from start to finish and you have ran the football and you have stopped the run effectively? I think that would get people in a much better, frame of mind going into week 2.
But it does feel like ultimately we talk about all the other things that have to do with football, but what do you always get back to as far as like old school football, what wins and loses games is, can you stop the run? Can you run the football? And, I think for South Carolina, both in terms of this team, this entire season, but certainly this game and kind of if you want to focus on it, you want to kind of feel like when South Carolina attempts to establish the run, like we've seen Carolina in some games against teams like this in the past at times, and it's not every time. I know we around here, we like to create narratives of like, well, every time there's a backup quarterback, this happens, and it's not true. There are just times that sort of stand out. But point being, we have seen times when Carolina against a team they should be able to control the line of scrimmage against, and this is on both sides, frankly, where they don't. And so I think for the fans out there, and really just for how this game is going to flow, like, is it going to be one of those games where Carolina is in control for most of the day, or one of those games where if you're a fan, you're holding your breath? A lot of that is going to come down to, is Carolina able to run the football on their side? Like, I feel like great play callers are made by the ability for their unit to run the football, because every play, you can call any play on the planet on first down if you have a 5-yard carry in your pocket for second down. It's really, last year fans like to talk about, conservative play calling at times and all the short passing game. You would really like to think a lot of that was out of necessity, not feeling comfortable with that offensive line, being able to throw the ball down the field behind it. And so I would think with Rocket Sanders, with a running quarterback, a running oriented quarterback, or at least a guy who can run the football, has the size and speed we know Lenore Sellers does that open up everything else? And if so, does that sort of then allow you to actually throw the ball and do some different things in that side of the game that maybe you could not do last year, even with a guy as dynamic of a passer as Spencer Rattler? I think we will get we won't get answers, right? But we'll get some early cues on all those things week 1 against Old Dominion.
Well, and, if nothing else, again, facing a team like this more often than not allows you to try a couple different things. And if you have a sizable lead in the second half, allows you to get a lot of guys out on the field as well. If you're still trying to determine exactly what certain spots can look like the wide receiver room and stuff like that we know is obviously something they're still working through as we make our way through fall camp. That again, if you can beat this team by a significant margin, you should be able to get a lot of guys out there and figure out those fine little things before you go on the road to Kentucky in week number 2.
Got a text on the personal Fire Out Subs text line from Coach Justin Gentry. He's listening to us, so appreciate Coach Gentry for weighing in. He noted something. I think this came up yesterday. ODU runs that free zone play that Wake Forest has really popularized.
The slow
thing? Developing
I
mesh
love
point.
That thing.
Yeah,
I love that thing.
And so, well, we'll see if you still love it when they run it on August 31st. But he noted that they ran that very well against App last year. Going back, and Old Dominion ended up beating Appalachian State and won that game. They rushed for 220 yards, had 5.7 yards a carry in that game. And he also said that Old Dominion has a linebacker that's as good as he's seen in a while. And I assume that is probably Jason Henderson. I think he's back for this year.
He was their leading tackler.
Yeah, leading tackler, big all-conference guy, tons of experience. So appreciate him for weighing in as
shout
well.
out, Coach. That's a great scouting report, actually. I love the Wake Forest. Did the Wake Forest OC invent that, or did he find it somewhere? Does anybody know? But I just love when coaches are like, hey, we're going to do something that's just a little bit completely off the wall, and it's going to give us maybe an advantage because Wake Forest is never going to just be dynamic on offense in terms of having loaded skill players or, an offensive line that's just going to consistently knock you back. So you have to find little advantages. And I think that thing is awesome. I think, that's what's great about college football too, is you see these different schemes where you may have to prepare for something one week, and then defensively, you may never see it again the entire rest of the season. So that's something that is very, very unique. You don't see it a ton, and I'll be curious to see what's out. Now, I imagine, guys, don't you think ultimately, and maybe Coach can text you too, ultimately, if you dominate the line of scrimmage, if you win all those battles up front, it don't matter if you're slow mesh, fast mesh. None of that stuff matters if you just win those battles and your D-line takes over.
Sure.
But I imagine your angles and your timing and all that stuff and your cues for your linebackers who when they do that thing, they're throwing an RPO behind it. So it's really just messing with the cues off of your linebackers and putting them in kind of in a space where they're having to make a decision, but you're trying to make them wrong, obviously.
Right. Plenty more scouting on Old Dominion as the next 17 days go by, leading up to that game on August the 31st. Again, we're broadcasting live out here at SteelHands Brewing in KC. Tyler Head, West Metro, Chris Clark, going up until noon on your Wednesday here on the game. All right. Tyler Head, as always, love telling you about our friends over at Twin Peaks down in the Vista. School just started back, and you can stay back after class and enjoy some great specials all week long at the Back to School Costume Party. This Back to School Costume Party starts this week, running through Friday, and you can celebrate the end of your kids' summer break with the folks down at the local lodge at Twin Peaks. Coming up this Saturday, you also have UFC 305 as what you can watch Decius Plessis defend his belt in the middleweight title bout against Israel Adesanya. Get to Twin Peaks for every second of knockout action. Contact your local lodge and come down and hang out again this Saturday for UFC 305. And of course, you can always enjoy sports with TVs as far as the eye can see and amazing food and beverages, as always, with our friends at Twin Peaks down in the Vista.
And markers? Of course. Oh,
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point Gamecock Central Takeover Hour live at SteelHands out in Casey. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, and Chris Clark going out in here until noon. Again, 17 days away from South Carolina and Old Dominion, kicking things off in week number 1, making our way through fall camp. Another scrimmage coming up this weekend as we try and decipher who's going to be playing where, who the starters are going to be, and everything like that. One position that we feel pretty confident about is obviously quarterback, with Lenore Sellers still just being named the starter coming out of spring, but we expect him to be named the official starter here in the next handful of days or so. But there is the dynamic of Robbie Ashford, who is the second guy on the list as of right now that is still competing quote unquote, with Lenore Sellers for that starting job. He was one of the guys that spoke to the media yesterday after practice. And let's start off with this. Cut number 1 here, Dave. This is Robbie Ashford talking about his relationship with Sellers amid the competition that they're having.
And we keep it fun in there. I mean, you know, I'm the older guy, so I kind of look at Lenore as like little bro, and I was like, man, you're a little bro. But I mean, man, we just come out there and we just try to have fun with the work. I mean, you know, he's QB1 coming into it, and I respect that. He's been here, he's done what he needed to do, and it's just my job to just be able to help him and you know, be ready to play when my time's called, and I know I'll get it. So it's just doing that. But me and him, man, we got a great relationship. Really thankful for him. And he's just a young guy who's just wants to be great. And you love to work with guys like that. And then we can just joke around, have fun. We live in the same apartment complex, so it's like we're cool. And it's definitely been better than any other competition I've been in. You know, a lot of competitions, is a lot of weird stuff going on. But with this room and just what we've been doing, I haven't seen any of that. And it's just been a true brotherhood. And that's what you love to be in. So.
And look, Robbie Ashford came here knowing what the situation was. He was not going to be promised anything. As Jamie Reamer said, there were other guys they talked to out of the portal that wanted the guarantee they were going to be the starter. He wasn't going to give them that, so you knew you were going to have to come in here and compete. And, you know, everything that we've heard from Robbie Ashford, and, you know, it seems to be a pretty likable guy, mature guy, has been around the game for a while, so kind of understands these kind of situations, and is obviously out there giving it his best, but I'm sure he's well aware that Lenore Sellers is getting the nod up to this point. And, you know, unless he does something drastic in these next couple of weeks, it's probably going to be Lenore Sellers as the starter when the season rolls around.
It sounds like a healthy competition to me. And, you know, Robbie's obviously been in multiple competitions to this point in his career. He was at Oregon, he was at Auburn, and, you know, he knows the drill. But I do think you look at the guys that are around him in this room, and you have kids that by every single indication are just good people. And so that's what you want in your room. That's the way you want these battles to go, is that, hey, we're against each other, but also we can help each other for the betterment of the team. And I think if you're Lenore Sellers, you benefit from Robbie Ashford pushing you. If you're Robbie Ashford, you benefit from Lenoris pushing you to raise the bar for your own play as well. And then if you're the guy behind that, I don't know who the third string guy is going to be, maybe Davis Bevel, who comes in as a walk-on guy. Everybody can push each other's standard to a higher level. And so I think you do want to have that sort of little bit of competitiveness, or you want to beat that guy. Like you want to sort of have that edge, but at the end of the day, that is your teammate. That's your guy that you're going to be in the room with every single day, going over film and going over practice and all these different things. So I think it does sound like a very healthy competition, and one that it does, you know, it's going to be an absolute shock if anybody but Sellers wins it. But does sound like Robbie has done a good job of coming in and pushing.
Remember how Beamer talked about the difficulty of finding a quarterback that kind of fit what they were looking for in the portal? A lot of guys that you recruit out of the portal want to be told you're the guy, you know, and Ashford didn't need that. And as you said, Wes, he's been a guy that has been in multiple quarterback battles. He's been on the positive end of that in terms of winning a job. He's been on the other side where he's been waiting his turn behind somebody, or somebody else won the job. You know, 2022 in Auburn, he starts 9 games. Next season, he's a backup quarterback who's kind of playing a role. And we'll see. You know, it's an interesting situation this year because Robbie Ashford's such a good athlete, you know, baseball player, really good runner, has done some good things throwing the football from my understanding in practice as well in the scrimmage situations. But you don't look at it and go, okay, well, Robbie Ashford can be kind of like an athletic changeup to Lenora Sellers. No, you don't really say that because Sellers can kind of do all those things. But is there some type of role? I mean, maybe. I think we'll have to wait and see when the games actually roll around and the situations. But, you know, I agree with you. Certainly Sellers is going to be hard to unseat, but it is, you do want a quality backup or quality backups in your program. And Beamer talked about this recently of, hey, a lot of guys that I talked to wanted to say, hey, is it my job? And they weren't going to do that. So I think with Ashford, you get a guy who has started games, still has some potential and some upside, has some athletic ability, and understood the situation coming in. So in terms of what they were looking for in the portal, I think they kind of got that.
Let me ask y'all a question. So I think, like, if Spencer was still here, if Spencer was the quarterback and Robbie was the backup, then you absolutely would be saying, hey, Robbie Ashford in some third and short or goal line, or even just change of pace, maybe drive situations to spark an offense, maybe. Like you just said, I mean, Lenoris can get you the dirty yards. He can run the football in terms of speed as well. He's, what, 245 or whatever he is now. Like, he already has those things. But is there still a case to be made for keeping Ashford involved, getting him in there in some goal line situations, just in terms of not getting your starting quarterback hit as much? Like, do you think there's enough value in that idea of playing him as well because it takes some of those shots off of Sellers, or because Sellers can run the football? Or are you just saying, hey, he's our guy, why take him off the field, because they still have to account for the pass while he's on the field, whereas they know if you're bringing in Ashford for situationally, you're probably planning to run the football?
And he was actually asked a question kind of similar to that yesterday, cut number 4 here, Dave, on if there's a possibility that we could see multiple quarterbacks play this season.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It's kind of just a coach thing. I just try. I don't really look in too much into that because, that's not really my place or anything. I just try and go out there and just do what I can. And hopefully I do enough to be able to see the field. I mean, at the end of the day, who doesn't want to play? And, I always want to be on that field. So I'm going to do whatever it takes. The North is going to do whatever it takes. I mean, at the end of the day, we're only making each other better. And, I mean, this is SEC. You never want to see injuries happen, but you always got to have a next man up mentality because you're one play away. Whoever the backup is, you're always one play away from being in the game. And, I mean, a lot of places when you don't have 2 quarterbacks ready, that's where a lot of teams get in trouble. And we've got 2 quarterbacks that are ready and another 3 guys that are ready on top of that. So I feel like it's just a recipe for success. And I feel like the coach will make the best decision, and I respect it regardless.
And I don't think he was necessarily saying that, I'm going to come out there situationally or something like that, goal line situations, because, again, similar skill set to Lenore Sellers. But, if in the first game, again, where you're playing a team that theoretically you should hopefully be beating by a significant margin, if you go out there and, make sure that Robbie Ashford gets a fair amount of series to play or whatever it is, get him his time out there on the field, that's something that could certainly be a possibility. And, hopefully you have that all squared away before you go on the road in week number 2 against Kentucky.
Yeah, and I took his answer as giving a player answer. Like, yeah, I that's not up to me. And even if I knew, I probably wouldn't tell you guys, is kind of what it felt like to me. But yeah, he's certainly, by all indications, taking the proper approach to this thing in terms of, hey, if I'm the guy, I'd love to be on the field. If I'm not, then I'm going to be ready, because he's seen enough ball. He's seen enough to know at this level you're going to have guys get banged up.
Certainly. And again, we're broadcasting live out at SteelHands Brewing here in Casey, going until noon. Tyler Head, Wes Much, and Chris Clark along with you. It is Wednesday, though, and Wednesdays we always talk some racing with Jen Jensen from the early game. We'll have that coming up next, as we are, again, live at SteelHands going until noon here on the Extra Point in the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour on the Game. crossed.
Oh, it was crossed and then crossed again. And I guess I feel like if it is somebody who will be competitive in the playoffs, you might understand it a little bit more because, and I'm not saying there's really an excuse for anybody per se, but some people were saying, well, he needs to earn the right to drive the number 3. And by doing that, well, okay, well, no, that I don't think that really is a good justifier. But Dale Sr. could do that kind of thing because that was what Dale did, but he also had the talent and had the record that he could win without doing that. Austin Dillon hasn't really proven that. So I hate to see somebody like that getting into the playoffs because how competitive is he going to be?
Well, and that is something else coming away from this. Yes, Dale Sr. was aggressive, had his incidents with Terry Labonte. He had a similar incident at Richmond with Darrell Waltrip, but we've never seen somebody on the last lap of a Cup Series race intentionally wreck 2 people in the final corner. Like, this is its own thing. You know what I mean? And look, I don't mind bumping. If you've got the opportunity to get somebody in the last corner and you can nudge them out of the way, you do that. That's fine. That's well within the parameters of what stock car racing is. And I have no problem with that. But again, when you had no intentions of making the corner and your only objective was to wreck everybody in front of you, the more egregious part was the Hamlin part of this, because runs into Logano, washes up the track himself. Hamlin's going to go through and win this race now because the seas have parted for him. And we have the SMT data to back this up.
I watched that too.
Like, he just comes down the track, his spotters yell in his ear, yelling, wreck him, wreck him, wreck him, and he turns him into the fence. So, yeah, he won the race, but I don't know if that is deserving of being in the playoffs because that is not within the spirit of what racing should be.
Correct. I don't disagree. I think it was, like you said, so egregious. It was so intentional. It wasn't just bumping. I mean, like most times you get up and you draft whoever's in front of you and kind of bump them out of the way. I mean, he was full hard charging into Logano. And then, and like you said, then to just totally hook Hamlin like you did. I mean, it was, and by watching that data and seeing all the lines of how he was turning the wheel and everything, it was so intentional. And you're right. It's one thing to kind of bump somebody out of the way, but to just start basically mowing anybody over. Like if there had been 4 cars, would he have plowed them all over?
Sure. And I thought, guys like Denny Hamlin, a lot of drivers, a lot of people within NASCAR in general have brought up really good points in the wake of this, that like, hey, if you don't draw a line in the sand with this, what's stopping someone from doing this at Phoenix? If I'm second going into the final turn for the championship, why wouldn't I just dump the leader to win? You know what I mean? Like, that's not what we want. Like, you have to have a air of integrity within your sport. And if NASCAR allows this to happen without coming down too hard on Dillon, then I think you're opening up Pandora's box for more of these things to happen in the future.
I don't disagree. And you're right. There's just no sportsmanship. I mean, we're not in a demolition derby. You know, that's not what we're doing. You're driving cars. There's a finesse to it. And to just, again, plow everybody over. No, it's just not good. And again, they've issued penalties for other things, for other people for doing something similar. So they have to, especially taking out 2.
And to say all this, I understand where Austin Dillon's coming from. Because again, terrible season. Him and Kyle Busch have had awful seasons. We've been talking about it a lot this entire year. His only hope was to win that race. And when he sees a car in front of him going into the final turn and says, I got to get by this guy to get into the playoffs for any semblance of a good season, I understand why he did it, but it's because of the system that's been created. Like, NASCAR's created their own mess with this, where yes, in theory, making wins important, making wins the way to get in the playoff is exciting sounding until you run into a scenario like this, where I feel like we've kind of jumped the shark a little bit.
I agree. Because like I said, he's not somebody who is in the even top 20, so that it could earn their way in. He's been a 30th. I mean, even with winning, he's at what, 26th in points. So I mean, his series has been so lackluster this year, and I just agree. I think it's a matter of, is there a way to tweak this a little bit, or is this just gonna give him good penalties and hope nobody else does it again, so that it doesn't skew the playoffs? Because basically now he has taken a spot of somebody who really could have been more qualified to be in there.
And we're waiting to see what the exact penalties of this are going to be. I don't have a problem with him keeping the win because he did cross the finish line first. And NASCAR's not in the business of taking the trophy away days after the fact. That is just not what they do in the modern era. I think you got to take the playoff eligibility away, because I think you've crossed a line here. You have to send a message to the rest of the garage area that, hey, we're not going to tolerate this. You got to rein this back in, because if you don't, again, it's open season for anybody to do this, to get into the playoffs, to advance in the playoffs, to win the championship. Like, I just think you're setting a very dangerous precedent if you don't nip this in the butt immediately.
Yeah. And I like the idea of taking, at least letting him keep the win, but yeah, taking away the playoff spot, because otherwise you're probably going to see other people take care of it, and he will be out in the first round, because he'll have about 5 people gunning for him. So, and then again, that's just kind of a bad precedent. You don't really want everybody being vigilantes and taking care of it.
And again, to me, this is about a larger conversation about the, integrity of the sport, because, we can rag on F1 and IndyCar for being too strict with their penalties sometimes, and, stewards and stuff enforcing things that probably didn't be enforced. At the same time, you can't be lawless. You can't be a demolition derby. Like, this is the top level of stock car racing in the world, and you have to uphold that to some degree. And look, NASCAR's let a lot of things slide over the years, and I don't mind contact and aggressive racing, but again, I think what Dylan did crossed the line, and you have to make sure this doesn't get out of hand by, dropping the hammer on them.
No, I totally agree. Now, what kind of a penalty does Joey Logano get for doing burnouts in the pit area?
That one's probably going to be a heavy monetary fine, maybe a points penalty too. And look, you and I, we've been on active pit roads. There's a lot of things happening, and you have media members and family members and crew members that are trying to get places. So yeah, I don't care how angry you are, you don't drive and do a burnout down pit road. Like, that is, he's gonna get something out of that, and rightfully so. But again, the bigger matter here is Austin Dillon, and what the future of the Cup Series is if you don't penalize him.
And I'm assuming that the gravity of the situation is why they haven't just come out, like you said, and doling out these penalties, because there are a few people that they've got to address, and they need to take it seriously, because there's gonna be a precedent set from this, I feel sure.
Yeah, and look, we love the sport. We followed it our entire lives. I will always defend it, but if they don't make an example out of this, I think they're setting themselves up for more problems down the line.
I agree. And he can't hide behind his kid in the penalty. It was so, like we were talking about before, it was kind of funny to see him like holding up the baby and being, but you were right. His temperament was a little bit different. So he knew what he did, and it's just a matter of waiting for it all to come down.
We'll see what happens. Wait and see NASCAR's decision, and what happens going forward these next couple of weeks is get closer to the playoffs, also closer to the Southern 500 coming up in just a couple of weeks. Appreciate it as always, Jen, and we'll catch up with you next week.
Sounds great, Tyler. Thanks.
All right, more of the Extra Point broadcasting live out at SteelHands in Casey. Coming up next here on The Game.
From the Midlands to the PD to the beach.
The Game Network.
Powered by Integrated Media. The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
This is Boomer Science with a Sports Minute, sponsored by Fisher Investments. Today's
your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in your best interest.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a simple management fee based on the value of your portfolio. So we do better when you do better.
We appreciate that kind of transparency.
We also check in with you regularly to keep you up to date on the markets and your portfolio.
Well, what other services do you offer?
As a client, you have access to resources on investing, financial planning, estate planning, Social Security, Medicare, and more.
Wow, sounds like Fisher Investments has everything we need.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Hilton Garden Inn, downtown Columbia, and Gamecock football go hand in hand for the ultimate fan experience. Located in the heart of the city, their prime location offers easy access to all the action on game day, with home dates available against Old Dominion, LSU, Ole Miss, Wofford, Missouri, and Texas A&M. There's no better place to stay for Gamecock football season. Book your room now by calling 803-227-3400 and let them take care of the rest. Enjoy comfort, convenience, and hospitality at Hilton Garden Inn, Columbia, downtown.
Hey guys, it's Preston Thorne for your broker, my broker, Benji Getzi at Buford Lending. Buford Lending is a true mortgage broker offering the widest variety of government mortgage programs and the best mortgage experience for clients through its state-of-the-art technology and record low interest rates. Their goal is to make your next mortgage experience at closing easier, cheaper, faster, and friendlier. Whatever you do, don't wait. Shop and lock your rate today with Buford Lending. Don't go to Wall Street. The rates are better on Bay Street. Online at Buford.mortgage.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit, 800-919-1441, 800-919-1441, 800-919-1441.
The Extra Point
with Tyler Head and Gamecock Central
on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point and Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. We are out at SteelHands Brewing in KC. Tyler Head, West Metro, Chris Clark, along with you, going up until noon, and place doesn't open up until about noon. But there's a lot of exciting things going to be taking place at SteelHands over the next couple weeks, including, Chris, their final Nashville Nights coming up this Friday.
Yep, coming up this Friday. It's the last one, and I've been told it's a really good one. Got somebody who's just finished up a tour with Laney Wilson, actually.
Very nice.
So Laney will not be here. Just full
that
disclosure.
we know of.
That we know of. I mean, could always
come by and see. You never know.
They do have some guest appearances sometimes. So that should be fun. And then on Saturday, they've got a big party happening here, which should be a lot of fun. Looking at the posters around here, it's the Garnet and Black Bash. Going to have some music from Ryan Trotty. Of course, your favorite SteelHands beverages and some really good food, too. Should be a fun party.
Tyler, are you coming out?
I was actually just here the other week.
Okay.
Tried their tangerine sour ale for the first time. It's really good.
Stronger.
Also, don't forget Oktoberfest coming up in October as well. I believe that is October the 4th.
October the 4th.
So
Fest beer is already out. It is available, but it's just, it's a great time to come out here and have one for sure.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's one of their bigger events every year, too.
Yes, it is.
I was going to say, I imagine most breweries live for Oktoberfest. So certainly
they just live for a party here.
Yeah, live for a party. Again, we were here just a couple weeks ago and for one of the Nashville nights, and a lot of fun stuff happening here. Great beer, obviously, great food, and just a great place to hang out. So we certainly appreciate SteelHands for allowing us to be out here, as we've done a couple different times.
And guys, they actually have just been voted by the Free Times Best of Columbia 2024 Best Local Brewery at SteelHands.
Well, there you go. Award-winning brewery here at SteelHands out in KC. I wanted to hit this real quick. We are still about 2 weeks away from the Connor Stallions documentary dropping on Netflix, and who knows what that's going to tell us. But the Michigan notice of allegations are yet to be official yet, but we know something's coming down the pipe here very soon, which could lead to suspensions for Sharon Moore. We obviously know there's a show cause against Jim Harbaugh for the COVID recruiting violations. He was supposed to serve as the honorary captain for their season opening game, where they're going to honor the national championship team. As of yesterday, he's declined that option. Instead, wants to hunker down with his team out there in LA and focus on that instead. So I imagine there would be, I guess, some awkwardness if he's in Wolverine Stadium or Michigan Stadium for game number 1. But yeah, he's not going to be making his appearance anytime this season. It doesn't look like.
I actually thought it was hilarious and the most Harbaugh thing ever when they initially said he was going to be there as the honorary captain. Like,
right,
kind of just a final, not 2 thumbs up, but 2 other fingers up. I feel like to everybody in the NCAA, and I kind of wonder. Like, it's easy to be like, we're focused on the Chargers now.
Right.
It's a great excuse. It's an easy excuse. I do wonder, like, was somebody along the way, because I don't think Harbaugh cares whatsoever.
I mean, they can do anything to him.
But I feel like it's kind of hilarious. But they can do things to Michigan.
They can.
Yeah. So
and Sharon Moore may be suspended for that game for all we know.
So I mean, maybe Harbaugh could have just actually been the honorary coach for that game potentially. But seriously, I wonder, like, did somebody at Michigan sort of say, "Hey guys, we still have to deal with the NCAA.
Right.
Harbaugh, you don't.
Right.
You're out in the NFL enjoying California. So maybe let's not thumb our nose at them one more time by parading you around while you're."
I was going to say, and if he gets his hands on a microphone, there's no telling what he's going to say, because there's nothing they can do to him now at the college level, because he's gone back to the NFL. So yeah, maybe from an optics standpoint, that was maybe the best decision to just amicably part ways here.
Schools are always thinking in terms of, risk management and mitigation. And so in situations like that, they're typically going to err on the side of, Jim Harbaugh, we don't really know that person. They're going to kind of distance themselves from those situations. But Sharon Moore, Tyler, he said that he looks forward to the text being released.
And that's, again, the notice of allegations, the documentary, all that kind of stuff. I just want to know the intimate details, because when you say deleted text messages, that sounds bad. But if he's like, yeah, I want people to see him, what did he say? You know what I mean? Like, what were these conversations he had with Connor Stallions that he deemed worthy enough to delete, that you're able to obviously go back and find now? That I just want to know what was said. I want to know what the smoking gun here is.
Well, here's my question. Why doesn't he just put them on Twitter? Put the screenshots up of the text.
Share the receipts? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. If he looks forward to them being released, I get maybe he doesn't have them anymore.
Or is he calling their bluff on that they won't make them public knowledge of what they were said?
It probably, well, number one, the answer to my own question is probably, I guess he doesn't have them. If he doesn't have some sort of backup of them. And then 2, even if he had them, I would imagine his attorneys are like, let's not tweet those.
Yeah, maybe hold on to those.
Let's let them come out and through some other avenue, and we can react to it.
Not a terrible idea, I guess.
Chris was a lawyer in another life, so
not really.
I was close. I was a legal.
You know more about the legal side of things than we do.
Yes.
So we'll give you credit for that. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what plays out. But yeah, no appearance for Jim Harbaugh for the week number 1 game for Michigan, as I imagine they'll hang their banner and do all the national championship stuff, just sans the coach that was there for at least half the season last year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I still think it would have been great television for him to be there.
Oh, for sure. All right,
whatever.
1 hour down, 2 more hours to go. Again, broadcasting live at SteelHands Brewing out in Casey, going up until noon. We'll jump back into the Gamecock conversation, replay a little bit of what we talked about with Ryan McGee yesterday, particularly about Lenore Sellers. That's coming up next here on The Game.
.1075 The Game, broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20K off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
Tyler Head once again here to tell you about our friends over at Canty Foundation Specialist. If you are noticing some weird things around your home, they could be signs of serious foundation problems. Things like cracks in your exterior brick, cracks in walls or above windows and door frames, doors or windows that might be sticking a little bit, uneven or bouncy floors, or cracks over your garage door. If you notice any of these issues with your home, again, that could be serious foundation issues. That's where our friends over at Canty Foundation Specialists come in. They can send a professional out to your home, evaluate your situation, get your foundation fixed up right, so you and your family can live comfortably. Go online and schedule an appointment today at cantycanfixit.com. Again, online at cantycanfixit.com for our friends at Canty Foundation Specialist.
Do you like to play golf?
Are you passionate about helping others?
Then join us at our 16th annual Oliver Gospels Charity Classic.
Where all proceeds support the care of men, women, and children at Oliver Gospel and Toby's Place.
Assemble your team and help us golf for good on October 7th at Fort Jackson Golf Club.
Go online to olivergospel.org/golf tournament to sponsor or sign up today for the tournament.
Don't let the season fool you. It's pool time in the Midlands. Hi, I'm Paul Romenstein, proud owner of Midlands Landscape and Lawns. We have the experts in custom pool design and installation. The summer months might be flying away, but in the Midlands, the heat is here to stay. Dive into comfort and beat the heat all year round. Call Midlands Landscape today and make your dream pool a reality. MidlandsLandscape.com.
When someone first comes in and you see that discouragement on their face, they've tried so many different products, but nothing seemed to work for them. I'm able to take that and turn it into hope.
You're listening to Mallory, an arch support specialist at the Good Feet store.
They try the arch supports. You see their face brighten up from feeling discouraged to being happy and hopeful again. We're helping people. We're able to take them from the pain to the possibilities.
Try them for yourself with a free fitting at the Good Feet store.
The Good Feet store. Call 1-800-NEW-FEET or visit goodfeet.com.
This year, Roy and Dana Finley are shaking things up at AAA Heating and Air. For the next 12 months, they're telling their customers no. Get a new system purchase with no payments and no interest for a whole year. You heard that right. Purchase a brand new system in 2024 and get no payments and no interest until 2025. Do what I did. Call AAA Heating and Air today for your free estimate. 803-677-1500. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
Is that your new Nissan Rogue? Yeah, crazy story. I'm at the Nissan end of summer sales event when Laura, the saleswoman, asks, "Want to test drive the Rogue?" I'm like, "Let's go." We're driving when Laura says,
"Want to see something cool? VC turbo engine."
I hit the gas and whoosh. I'm like, okay, wasn't expecting that. Laura goes,
"Check this out."
She shows me the miles per gallon and I'm like, wow, that's pretty impressive fuel economy.
These new Nissan Rogues are going fast.
I knew I had to have that Nissan Rogue. Crazy, right?
Wait till you hear how I got my Nissan Sentra.
Get up to $2,500 total savings on remaining select early model 2024 Rogue Platinum trims. 2024 EPA fuel economy estimates from 28 city 34 highway to 30 city 37 highway for 2024 Nissan Rogue. Actual mileage may vary. Total savings consists of $1,250 retail customer cash plus $1,250 bonus cash on select remaining 2024 Rogue inventory as available at your local dealership. Select Rogue bonus cash available on 40% of dealers' most aged inventory. Updated weekly. Available on purchase from new dealer stock. Contact your local dealer for current inventory information. Ends 9/3/24.
WNKT FM Eastover, Columbia.
Congrats to the Gamecocks women on another national championship.
A Cumulus media station. The extra point, the extra point, the extra point, the extra point.
With Tyler Head and Gamecock Central
On the Game Network.
Welcome back in. Hour number 2, Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark broadcasting live at SteelHands Brewing in KC, going up until noon. We just told you in the last segment there about a lot of the exciting things happening at SteelHands over the course of these next couple of weeks. We certainly appreciate everybody for allowing us to be out here. I want to loop back around to the conversation that Wes and I had yesterday with Ryan McGee of ESPN and the SEC Network, who, of course, is very well ingrained, not just here locally at South Carolina, but everything going on around the Southeastern Conference. And we asked him about, or Wes specifically asked him about Lenora Sellers. And obviously we know a lot about him up to this point, from what we've seen from him being recruited locally out of high school, everything that we've learned about him through his basically year on campus up to this point. But, could he be somebody that becomes a household name here with a good first season as a starter at South Carolina? And I want to play for you Ryan's answer to that yesterday. Cut number 22 here, Dave. This is what Ryan McGee said about Sellers potentially becoming a household name with good play here at Carolina.
Well, the greatest compliment I can give someone that's in his position is when coaches talk about him, and when I talk to people who saw him in high school and who've seen the way. And not in like a super arrogant, cocky, y'all should watch me play kind of way. It's just a quiet way of taking care of business. So how do you do your work? And, it reminds me a lot of Shane Beamer, which is, there's stuff that Shane does is flashy, and he does social media, and he's a phenomenal recruiter. We all know that. But at the end of the day, the coaches love him because he just loves to coach football. And so that's what I hear about Sellers. And I think that's why he's going to be good for this job. And so it's, he doesn't come in. There's no predetermined stories about him. I'm a Spencer Rattler guy. Always have been. It always drove me crazy. The stories that were attached to him because he chose to be on a streaming show when he was in high school, and because some former coaches might have poisoned the water against him when he was changing schools. It drove crazy because once you saw him play and you saw the way he worked and you saw the kind of a teammate that he was, if you knew the truth, you knew the truth. And eventually the nation came around on that. And so with Sellers, there's none of that. Like, it's just him. And so I'm really, really curious to see and anxious to see. But we're living in an era, guys, where, it's nothing for these young quarterbacks. I mean, I grew up at a time where, it's kind of like the NFL used to be. You had to bide your time. You had to wait. You got to football when you were a junior and a senior, and then you took over. And in the case of Sellers, in the case of college football now, you're in the door as a teenager, and you're running the offense of a premier program. And from everything I've heard, he's not going to have a problem doing it.
And off of that, a lot of good things there. Again, Ryan McGee from ESPN and the SEC Network, where, we know Sellers, mature kid, smart kid, all that kind of stuff from all of our interactions with him. And there's a level of pressure for taking over the starting job at any type of school. But, I'd say it's certainly different taking over at South Carolina compared to an Ohio State or Michigan or something like that, to where, you don't necessarily have the eyes of the entire nation upon you, and you can let them learn about you in time with your good play. So again, your pressure is a little bit more localized at a place like South Carolina, I guess.
It is localized, but it is highly focused. And, this is a place, it's like anything, you take the good with the bad, and you have still arguably one of the most passionate fan bases in the entire country. And I think you don't have to spend much time around this place to sort of feel that. And frankly, there are positives and negatives to that. Like you have sort of situations where, the fan, look at the Kentucky game last year, where you're going into that game, you are an under 500 football team. It's not a national, like, top 25 matchup, and but it's a very important matchup for your team. And the fan base rallied and created a just championship filling atmosphere. And you kind of saw the positive of that. But, it's a fan base that expects wins. They expect successful play, and they're hard on players, I think. So it is a little bit different. I do think it maybe helps a little bit. It's a local kid. It's an in-state kid. But at the same time, the expectations for Lenora Sellers are locally through the roof. Now, you don't kind of have that quite at the SEC level or, certainly at the national level yet, but it's only going to take maybe one or two games before people, if he plays the way we think he can, or know he can, if he plays the way that he is capable of, then the word will get out pretty quickly, I think, about this guy.
Well, and in terms of SEC and national expectations, I was spending some time this morning looking through some of these like preseason quarterback power rankings in the SEC. As we know, you got two new teams, both of which have really good quarterbacks, coming into the SEC in Texas and Oklahoma. You already, even if you took those teams out, you already had a very quarterback strong league. And looking through those lists, Sellers is at the bottom, not number 16, but 15, 13, 14 of most of those lists. And so locally, some people might look at that, no, Lenore Sellers is going to be way better than that. But then you look, it's kind of like where South Carolina was ranked as a team in the preseason. If you start looking up and down that list, you go, well, okay, Sellers is an unproven guy. Carson Beck, Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, Quinn Ewers, Brady Cook from Missouri, Nico at Tennessee, Garrett Nussmeier at LSU. It's Blake Shapen, who's giving you the work, Tyler, on the NCAA game.
Right.
Like he's going to Mississippi State in a very quarterback-happy offense.
Sure.
And is a guy that put up some good, accurate numbers in his time at Baylor. So, will Sellers probably ascend up that list quickly? I think he will, but it says something about how strong the league is in terms of quarterbacks that you've got a guy as talented as Sellers coming in, and he's viewed like towards the bottom right now.
Well, and out of everybody in the league, some of those names you just ran through, we've seen probably the least out of him. Like Brock Vandegrift's been around for a couple years, gotten to play in garbage time. And again, he hasn't started a game when he was at Georgia, but got to play a decent amount. So you saw a few things here and there with him. Nico got to start his bowl game. Jackson Arnold got to start his bowl game. So for a lot of these guys, we at least have some form of decent sample size. And what Sellers threw 4 passes last year and had a couple runs, one of those
completed
being a touchdown.
them all, though, Tyler.
Completed them all, yes. And the small little bit that we saw of him was great and lived up to what we thought it was going to be. But again, it's just so small up to this point. It's really hard, again, from a national or just regional standpoint with the SEC to say he's anything above the bottom right now, because you just haven't seen enough to know that.
Y'all watch Hard Knocks?
No.
I have before.
Great show. So they had, obviously, so this one, the one they're doing right now, is about the Chicago Bears. And so the Bears head coach now played for Saban back in the day, way back in the day. And so Saban visited the Bears facility that, whenever they were recording the one last week. And so a lot of it was about Caleb Williams and stepping into the expectations of being the guy as a number 1 pick. And so the Bears coach sits down with Saban. They're just talking it was fascinating conversation, talking quarterbacks in general. And when you have that guy come in who has the weight of the world on his shoulders, and Saban was talking about basically how the dropout rate, so to speak, for like quarterbacks in the NFL, or the bust rate really, is so high. Such a difficult position because you can check so many boxes and still not be successful in the NFL. And it just kind of got me to thinking about, on a lesser scale, the Sellers situation at South Carolina, where the fan base has really built him up. The media, us included, have built him up. Very high expectations. And Saban basically said expectations are a killer. Like, you have to let your quarterbacks go play. You have to let your quarterbacks develop. He even brought up, hey, Peyton Manning threw almost 30 interceptions his rookie year in the NFL, and then goes on to become one of the best quarterbacks of our modern era. So I think when we talk about Sellers, I am constantly walking the line between, let's try to be fair to this kid, that there will be some freshman moments. How many of them will there be?
Yeah.
While also in the back of your mind, you're going, this kid could be special. He could just be different than most of the ones we've seen. But if he goes out there against Old Dominion and just has a solid, if not spectacular day, that does not mean the end of the world. That does not mean panic. That does not mean that he's not who we thought he was. That means it was game 1 for a redshirt freshman quarterback. So I thought there were some parallels, and the conversation went even deeper than that. But there are just, every quarterback kind of goes through that moment with a fan base where they are going through the first ever time they're going to be playing in front of all these people.
And not to mention the fact you're taking over after one of the better quarterbacks in program history in Spencer Rattler, and somebody that, obviously wasn't helped by a weak offensive line and a lack of run game, but went out there and gave you everything that he had these past couple seasons, and certainly had some huge moments in the process. So everything that Sellers does, at least initially, is probably going to get paired directly. Well, Rattler did this, Rattler did that at this point in his time as starter at South Carolina. But again, he came in here with way more experience than Sellers had taking over for his first time here in a couple weeks. But that's kind of our natural inclination, is to immediately compare him to whatever the last thing was.
Yeah, the expectations, that's a great point by Saban. I mean, and there's a reason he's as good as he is. Those are a killer. I think comparisons are a killer too. I mean, Sellers is probably going to get compared very quickly because of how good most people either know that he is or have been told that he is. And they're going to immediately compare him to, okay, Spencer Rattler. Okay. Oh, Connor Shaw. Can he be better than Connor Shaw? It's like, let's let him get through a game or two first, maybe.
Yeah.
See how that goes. And it's been really the same deal, like Nick Harbor, the expectations. I had somebody on the Insiders Forum, and it not speaking negatively, and he wasn't speaking negatively to me, but it was kind of not a debate, but just some points back and forth about, well, if Nick Harbor had gone to Oregon, he would have already been playing. Why can't we let our guys go out and just play through it? It's like, well, Nick Harbor probably played more than I thought he would last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he got a lot of opportunities last season to work through it. And Oregon signed a 5-star wide receiver in the same class who caught one pass for 7 yards.
Yeah, he would have played far less.
He would have played a lot less at Oregon. They had a lot more talent at receiver, quite frankly, as well. So that was just a small tangent just to say, you always have to properly contextualize expectations and comparing guys. And I think you have to be nuanced about Sellers and recognizing, yes, from a talent standpoint, he could end up being the best quarterback that's ever played here by a good margin, actually. But he's a redshirt freshman. He's going into game 1 as a starter on August 31st.
Yeah, and I think these are the things people naturally want to talk about too. Like I was at the Marion County Gamecock Club thing yesterday. Shout out Bradley George, Ricky Martin, all those guys. Love that crew. But and I think we were doing questions in the crowd. I think it was actually Ricky who asked me. He's like, "Hey, what's the latest with Nick Harbor?" And it wasn't even like why hasn't he played?
Yeah.
It was just,
how's he doing?
I'm curious. Hey, is he making the steps forward that are needed? And so when you bring in a guy, and Sellers wasn't, at least from a recruiting standpoint, on the level of a Harbor, I think it's been more localized. Like people have started to get the word. The word has gotten out. Like, hey, this guy is special. He was probably underrated by the recruiting services. But it's kind of like, all right, we're curious. Like whenever you start to tell people, hey, somebody could be special. And whether that's having a 5-star by their name or all the local stuff with Sellers, they're going to naturally be curious. But does that put some pressure on a coaching staff to figure out how to use them and make it work? Of course it does.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we'll see what he can be in his first start here in just a couple weeks against Old Dominion. I want to dive into the AP poll once again coming up next, because what we're going to be able to do as the season goes along, every time we get a new set of polls, is plug it into the new college football playoff and see what that looks like. So we'll take a look at what the AP Top 25 for preseason would look like as the college football playoff coming up next. We're broadcasting live out at SteelHands Brewing in KC. Reminder, also next week, we're going to be out at Charwood Golf Club in West Columbia for our annual Summer Golf Classic. If you want to sign up for a foursome, give Charwood a call at 803-755-2000. That is next Friday, August the 23rd. Tyler, West, and Chris out here at SteelHands going until noon on The Game.
107.5 The Game.
In Columbia.
100.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.3 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach. The Game Network. It's back.
Starting Monday, July 29th, the ultimate Gamecock season ticket giveaway from The Game, sponsored by the Men's Clinic.
Seller's going to take it himself. Look at the young man throw. And there it goes. There's the speed and into the end zone. Touchdown, Carolina.
One lucky fan will snag season tickets to every South Carolina football, baseball, men's and women's hoops games. At home, all you'll have to do is go to 1075thegame.com and register.
We'll announce the winner at our Summer Golf Classic at Charwood.
The ultimate Gamecock season ticket giveaway 2.0, sponsored by the Men's Clinic from The Game. 1075 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20K off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
Bill Gunner for Zerez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. It's time to take advantage of Zerez's carpet cleaning back to school BOGO sale. For a limited time, when you get 2 rooms of carpet cleaned, you'll get 2 rooms cleaned for free. You heard that right. When you get 2 rooms of carpet cleaned and mention me, Bill Gunner at 1075 The Game, you'll get 2 rooms cleaned for free. Use promo code BOGO at ZerezColumbia.com or call in at 803-262-4020. Zerez, experience clean today.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies candidates with the right skills, sends you great matches, then you can easily invite them to apply. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Owners Gene and Debbie Royer of All American Heating and Air.
I think that's the biggest mistake ever of putting a technician on commission. My technician has no reason to overcharge. We don't do that.
You can trust All American.
When your heating and air breaks down, it's an emergency to you. It's an emergency to us also.
All American's technicians are NATE certified.
Let our family help your family. We're All American.
All American Heating and Air.
AllAmericanHeatingandAir.com.
From lazy days and spontaneous adventures to revving up and reconnecting, you can almost feel the excitement building. The road ahead and a whole new season of possibilities. It's back to cool time right now at Love Chevy with amazing savings on a lot chock full of brand new Tahoes, Suburbans, and the totally redesigned Chevy Traverse. A bolder exterior design, turbocharged V6, best-in-class cargo area, plenty of space for the team and the tailgate. Speaking of football, every day is game day at Love Chevy, where it's all about the fundamentals, honesty, integrity, and straight talk. No ridiculous add-on stickers like the other guys. And who could forget about Love Chevy's $1,000 low price guarantee? Get back to cool today as South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer, I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
That's the power of love. Love Chevy.
Firehouse Subs, Hook and Ladder jingle, take one.
Hook and ladder, when it's hot, it just tastes better. Warm that smoky turkey, that thin slice.
Guys, this is a 30-second ad. You gotta sing faster.
Hook and ladder, when it's hot, it just tastes better. Melty cheese and toast spread, mustard, mayo, perfect spread, lettuce, green, and onion. The sandwich is too big for the song. It's too big.
The Hook and Ladder, available only at participating Firehouse Subs restaurants.
O'Reilly! You've got questions? O'Reilly Auto Parts has answers. Need a pro you can trust? We've got that too. No matter what you need, our professional parts people have the training and expertise to help you do things right. Deep automotive knowledge, just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.
O'Reilly Auto.
Fresh. Break up with stinky clothes.
Rinse it out. Every now and then I get a little bit tired of the stinks that just will never come out. Oh, now need a rinse change. Every now and then I rinse it out. One wash and it delivers. One wash, it smells so clean. Downy Rinse and Refresh, it's a dream.
Downy Rinse and Refresh removes 100% of odor in just one wash. Guaranteed.
The Extra Point
with Tyler Head and Gamecock Central
on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. Extra Point, Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, broadcasting live at SteelHands Brewing in Casey, going up until noon. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, and Chris Clark along with you. Quick reminder, the Ultimate Season Ticket giveaway is back on 1075thegame.com. Just go in there, click on the tab for the Ultimate Season Ticket 2.0, and sign up for your chance to win our Summer Golf Classic at Charwood next Friday. We're going to take out the 3 finalists and award a overall winner 4 tickets to every home football game, every home baseball game, and every home men and women's basketball games for the upcoming season. This is all sponsored by the Men's Clinic at the Irmo Professional Center. So yesterday we talked a lot about the AP poll as it was officially released for the preseason on Monday afternoon. And one thing that's going to be interesting this year, much like we've kind of done in past years with the 14 playoff, though that was a little bit more straightforward, was plugging in the AP top 25 into what the new 12-team playoff format would look like and seeing what matchups we would get and where things would shake out if that ended up being how the season ended up. So pretty easy. When you talk about the top 2 yesterday, you had Georgia and Ohio State, which we're going to go with higher teams being the conference champions here. Those 2 teams would get buys. You'd have to go down to number 10, Florida State, and number 12, Utah, though, as the other 2 teams getting buys as the highest ranked teams within their respective conference. So this is where things start to get interesting because you have teams that are going to be jumping way ahead in line by winning their conference championship despite being ranked a little bit lower.
That made sense in theory.
Right. But seeing it
as I'm
different.
Looking at, I was literally, and I'm kind of away from the screen. I was like, wait, who is 4? Utah jumps right in. Now, obviously, they're gonna face a pretty good opponent, you would think, after that bye.
Sure.
But Oregon and Texas, who by the AP poll are way better than Utah and Florida State, have to play that extra game. Now those games would be on college campuses, right?
That is correct. First round games would be on college campuses. So based on this, you would have Oregon, Texas, Alabama, and Ole Miss all hosting opponents in the first round at campus venues, and then the top 4 seeds waiting with buys in their respective bowl games for whoever wins those games.
Yeah, I guess here's the thing: if we're truly going towards like a SEC and Big Ten, Big Two, basically, like those are the 2 big conferences that are better than everybody else. They're almost hurt by how good they are in that they would probably have multiple teams either from the SEC or the Big Ten that would get buys if you just did a straight ranking.
Yes.
But this is, I think, a good way to at least incentivize winning your conference championship and make that matter. Now, I'll tell you, just as a fan, whether it's fair or not, I get excited about the idea. I mean, let's say this is how it played out. This is not how it will play out, but can y'all imagine Ole Miss hosting Notre Dame in a playoff situation, Alabama hosting Penn State in a playoff situation, Oregon, Boise State, that's kind of but Texas hosting Michigan. So Michigan having to go to Austin, Texas.
Which that would be a reverse of the regular season game they're playing where Texas is going to Michigan.
With a college football championship, not on the line, but you know what I mean. In a playoff,
to win one,
in a playoff situation. That's incredible.
How angry would Missouri be as the number 11 team to not make it in, despite the fact that the 2 teams around them would get in with their respective conference champions, but because we have to include a Group of 5 team, which Boise is not even ranked in the AP poll. They are the top Group of 5 team in the others receiving votes category. So they got plugged into this as being the highest ranked Group of 5 champion. But Missouri would be the team on the outside looking in because despite being in the top 12, they would not have met the criteria of being a conference champion or being in one of those spots high enough to get in a large bid either.
Don't you feel like you should have to be in the top 25 to be the Group of 5 selection?
There usually is one.
Yeah, I'm saying most of the time there is.
Yeah.
But don't you think you should have to be?
It's like you put a caveat in there.
Yeah.
In the rules.
You got to be a top 25 to make the playoff.
Yeah, it's like number 30.
Right.
Your playoff team.
Which, and I've held this theory for a long time that I don't think the College Football Playoff Committee really put too much thought in Group of 5 teams as far as ranking. Because, again, when you have the 14 playoff, you worry about the 4 and everything after that doesn't really matter. And then they'll just say, hey, you know what? Liberty, you're 23. You can go play in the Fiesta Bowl or something like that. So now they actually do have to think about it because this is critical because you're determining which of those teams is going to get to play for the at least the opportunity to play for the national championship. But I mean, as it always is, you usually have at least one Group of 5 team that finds their way to being 12-0 or 11-1 or something along those lines. But yes, if one was on the outside looking in, I don't know, maybe they just rank one to rank one, so there's not any controversy there.
So Liberty, I guess, is not in the top 20. 25.
They're not in the top 25. Let's see.
That's
they are in.
I would have thought they would be.
I would be. Yeah, I would have thought too.
They are the second highest Group of 5 team and others receiving votes. Memphis after that, UTSA, Tulane, App State, and yeah.
Hey, at least on paper, I don't think anybody wants to face Liberty in a win or go home situation.
No, it wouldn't be.
So I think I like I think I like the group of 5 being included. Like if they were outside the top 25, that is kind of a bad look because, like, again, Missouri isn't making it and a team not in the top 25 is. But you do have a certain, like, there will be a year that group of 5 team is fully capable of maybe not winning the title, but winning that first game. And it will happen, even if they're not the better team. It will happen.
I like it from the standpoint of look, technically speaking, in the BCS era, 14 playoff era, technically all 133 teams had a chance to play for the national championship. We knew that wasn't necessarily true, but even a Cincinnati made it in the 14 playoff a couple years ago. But at least with this, if you're, Middle Tennessee State or Akron, if you put together a good enough season, win your conference championship, can be the highest ranked group of 5 team, you get a shot. You might get your doors blown off in that first game, but you at least get a shot. So I appreciate them throwing the group of 5 a bone. It makes things interesting. And who knows, we could end up having that Cinderella that maybe wins a game or 2 and finds their way to the semifinals. Getting the national championship is going to be extremely hard. Like I mentioned Cincinnati a couple years ago. If they found a way to upset Alabama, that's 1 game, and they find their way to the national championship. You got to win at least 3 more now to get to that point. So getting there is a whole lot harder for a group of 5 team, but I can appreciate them at least getting a bone thrown their way now.
Yeah. To go off a couple other things on the AP poll, Brett McMurphy had some interesting stats. Did y'all see those on Twitter about just some of the teams that – so here's one of them, a little trivia for you. Every year for the past 21 seasons, with only one exception, 2019, there was a preseason top 10 team in the AP poll that finished the season unranked.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty crazy stat.
Yep.
Not surprising. You know who it was last year? Preseason.
Was it Southern Cal?
It was Southern Cal.
Nice,
That's right.
Tyler, nice. Who's it going to be this year? Florida State?
Oh,
Michigan.
Or is Florida State even in the top 10?
They're
Michigan.
Yeah.
That's an unranked, though.
Yep.
Top 10 to unranked. Not even just, they're at the back of okay.
Well, you know what's funny? Washington's not even in the top 25.
Yeah.
They were in the national championship
that's
year.
Crazy, isn't it?
But look at what they lost, man.
They lost a lot.
True.
Their coach.
Michigan's lost a
bunch
little
of talent.
bit too. So
one more, too. With 2 exceptions, 2011 and 2020, there's been one team every season in the past 30 years that started unranked but finished in the top 10 in the AP poll. Do you know who it was last year?
Unranked, was it Missouri?
It was Missouri.
2 for 2.
Tyler. Killing the testing Tyler trivia.
Yeah, I know a thing
Killing
or 2.
it. So you got a candidate for that this year? Unranked, finished in the top 10.
Gosh.
Say South Carolina.
I was going to say Homer,
Earn
just say
yourself
South
some
Carolina,
points.
right? Man, that's tough. Oof.
Nobody really comes to mind for me immediately.
If it was easy, they'd already be in the top 25.
That's
you know what
true.
I mean? Like if they were
top 10.
Top 10.
Yeah, finished top 10.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question.
That's a hard one.
I have to think on that one.
We'll workshop it.
We'll continue on out here at SteelHands Brewing in Casey. We didn't get to this yesterday, but helmet communication is going to be new in college football this year, and a lot of coaches weighing in on their experience so far. We've heard from some players in South Carolina about what they think so far as well. So we'll dive into that coming up next. Again, Tyler, Wes, and Chris broadcasting until noon at SteelHands in Casey here on The Game.
The Game Network in Columbia.
107.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.5 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach.
100.3 The Game. The Game's Summer Golf Classic Golf Tournament is coming.
Sign-ups start the week of July 29th. Call Charwood at 803-755-2000 to reserve your foursome. One lucky player will win a pair of season tickets to all Gamecocks home football games.
The Games 2024 Summer Golf Classic is August 23rd at Charwood. Call 803-755-2000 to reserve your foursome.
Hey guys, Jay Phillips here for Integrated Media. You know they've been the Midland's leader in home theater for the past 2 decades for installation of amazing 4K televisions and surround sound systems to Wi-Fi that works everywhere. No one else compares to their customer service and quality. And now the guys at Integrated Media have expanded their brand to provide a state-of-the-art golf simulator experience next to their offices in Chapin. Pro Swing is what it's called. The golf simulators by Golf Zone have automatic tees. You don't have to bend over to set up your next shot. Amazing swing plate moving up to 24 different directions for a truly lifelike experience. The playing surface has simulated greenside and fairway bunkers, even 2 different cuts of rough to bring a real-life experience inside with 68 degrees of air conditioning every day. One golfer can play 18 holes in about an hour, 2 in 2, with selections of non-alcoholic drinks, domestic and craft beer. It's fun for the entire family. To book a tee time or to get golf lesson packages, visit ProSwingColumbia.com or call 803-948-8327. Have a blast with Pro Swing and Integrated Media.
There's no better place to be on a fall Saturday than at Williams-Brice Stadium. Single game tickets for the 2024 Gamecock football season are on sale now. Discounted single game tickets are also available for first responders, teachers, military, and more. To see what's planned for the 2024 season and to purchase tickets, visit GamecocksOnline.com/2024. Whatever the game, whoever you're with, just catch a game.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies candidates with the right skills, sends you great matches, then you can easily invite them to apply. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Progressive presents good news, bad news, dumb news, then great news. Good news. A letter in your mailbox says you could save money bundling your home and auto insurance with Progressive. Bad news. You saw it after your teenager backed the car into the mailbox. Dumb news. A new mailbox, basically a box on a stick, costs up to $400. Great news. You decide to see if you could save money bundling at Progressive.com and go with paperless mail instead. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers not available in all states.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies candidates with the right skills, sends you great matches, then you can easily invite them to apply. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet, South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer. Don't let the summer of savings pass you by. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Go to hims.com/joy. Through HIMS, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, and the process is 100% online. To start your free online visit, go to hims.com/joy. That's HIMS.com/JOY.
When you have sports mixed with your pop culture, along with humor and celebrity interviews, your earbuds are enjoying The Rich Eisen Show.
Jerry Jones, when he said we're going all in, I thought Derrick Henry is going to be out there, go get a couple of free agents, add them to the Cowboys. And instead, as we all know, they didn't do very much in free agency at all. What a difference we'd be talking about the Dallas Cowboys' chances of winning it all this year if that guy was there.
Who may not have wanted to go to Dallas?
I don't know about that. Why would you want to do that?
Ravens a little bit better of a football team, maybe?
Search for The Rich Eisen Show on YouTube or wherever you listen.
What you're talking about.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet
on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark along with you on the game out at SteelHands Brewing in Casey going up until noon. We're getting set for a lot of new things in college football this year. We just spent the last segment there talking about the 12-team college football playoff and how the preseason AP poll plugs into that and some of the interesting quirks that come along with that. But something else that is new that you're not going to probably notice as much, especially once we get in the thick of the season, is obviously the helmet communication that is now legal across all of college football, something that was toyed with a little bit in bowl games last year. But our guy Pete Nakos of On3 had this article up the other day that there are some concerns about this being implemented at the college level, particularly when it comes to some things involving communication on defense.
What are the concerns?
That they're not able to get their calls in time here. This is of Joey McGuire, who is the head coach at Texas Tech. He says we still have to signal some stuff on offense and all of our calls on defense. As you know, I think this is an absolute joke. So still some growing pains and some things working into this being implemented across the board here.
Hold on. Seriously, why is it a joke?
That's his words.
He didn't elaborate.
I need more context there.
Not according to this article.
We still have to signal some things.
And look, there are going to be some coaches that like the old school way of doing things with signals that probably maybe don't want to embrace the new technology. But like with anything, there's going to be some bumps in the roads on things. I do think generally it's a good thing for college football and something that we probably could have done a long, long time ago.
I'm side-eyeing him. I don't understand what the negatives to this could be. Like,
so here's some more. So Joey McGuire and Texas Tech, they used the helmet technology in the Independence Bowl win,
right,
over Cal. So they're one of the trial runs. They had 3 defensive players wearing the helmets outfitted for communication. But the new rule, right, is that you've got the green dot like in the NFL.
Yep.
And you can only have one on the field on the same side of the ball at a time, or otherwise you get a penalty.
Right.
So is he mad that you can only have one, or?
And I imagine that was
he pushed the oversight panel to go with 3 helmets. The panel went with 1. Why do you need more? Why do you need 3?
Well,
I guess for
each
linebacker front,
for guys
secondary?
rotating in, I guess.
Yeah, is it okay? Here's the question though: If Debo Williams is wearing the green dot helmet,
yep,
and Debo Williams rotates out, is there somebody else fitted with the helmet that has the capability? I can only use one at once.
Yeah,
or they are. Or you're just saying
no? I'm just continue.
Yeah. So is he wanting 3 at a time? Like, D-line, linebacker, the 3 levels of the defense, or is it literally 3 defenders? Like, hey, my middle linebacker, my backup middle linebacker, and my emergency middle linebacker. You said why?
Yeah.
You can't go completely to helmet communication if it's only when Debo Williams is on the field.
Sure.
So does it? If you can't use it 90%, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you can't count on it for most of the time,
sure,
then is it even worth doing?
Well,
it?
and so if you've got, say Debo comes out of the game, and let's say D Knight goes in for Debo.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you now you don't have your communication,
right?
So why use it anyway?
And if you had different packages where you're like, this guy may spell this guy in certain situations, maybe they're on the field at the same time. So it's going to cause some logistical issues potentially with your equipment. People are going to have to be really on it, as are your players. They're going to have to be very aware. But it seems like McGuire was more upset about not the logistics of the actual equipment, but signaling. And like he thinks, hey, if we're trying to get rid of signals and having all the cards with SpongeBob on them and whatever, that he doesn't think this will eliminate that. He seems more upset about that part.
Well, I don't think it was ever done to truly eliminate that. That's always going to be some element of things, especially if you're going up against like hurry up offenses and stuff like that, where you have to get things in really, really quick. So I don't think anybody looked at this as something, we're going to completely eliminate signals, in wake of the Connor Stallions thing. And certainly if the communication goes down, you got to have a backup plan there. So if that was his intention with this, I don't think he's ever going to get what he was hoping for.
But why are you doing it if it's not going to eliminate the signals? What's the point? It's kind of a waste if it doesn't.
To me, it's just kind of one of those things that, like, I feel like it should have been in a long time ago, just from the fact that the technology is there. You already use it at the top level of football. And it's not just the helmet communication. It's also the iPads and stuff like that, where you have more technology available on the sidelines. Again, cost of this certainly isn't an issue for most programs around the country, to where we could have been doing this for a while.
But the NFL, if you're going to an NFL model, just to play devil's advocate, when I watch the NFL, they don't have green and yellow shirt people and doing hand signals and NASCAR signs and stuff like that, right? For the most part.
Yeah.
So I think they're kind of, the technology is, it definitely helps the players. Like in Pete's story for On 3 that you just referenced, Tyler, like the players really like it. It helps the players. If ultimately you want to give them more tools to continue developing and progressing in their game, a quarterback being able to talk to his OC and hear from him to get the play call and hear, hey, watch out for this, etc. That helps a lot. But also it does take away, like Neil Brown from West Virginia was quoted in the story and kind of said it's just silly how many people we have on the sidelines doing a bunch of crazy stuff.
Right.
Didn't he say we all look like clowns?
Yeah, he did. Like a clown show.
Yeah.
It does. I mean, it's kind of silly going there. Okay, here's got red hat, yellow hat, green hat, and, all these signals and all these signs and things like that. So this will just kind of clean it up.
You are, I think, on offense too, you're still going to have to do signals as well because people don't huddle.
Yeah.
NFL style is most of the time you still tell the quarterback to play. He huddles, he communicates. Most college football, even if you're not a, quote, tempo team, if you watch, everybody's watching the sideline.
Yep.
So, and on defense, even if you have a play that kind of all fits together, I think you're signaling it to everybody. Like I don't think, let's keep Debo as our guy. I don't think Debo is necessarily getting the play call to all three levels of the defense. I believe you have somebody signaling to all three levels. So I think it actually helps more just with the quarterback and there being some level of communication, not even necessarily a play call,
right.
More like, hey, this is what they're doing, or hey, they're taking this away. This is why we're doing. Watch out for this.
Yeah, and that's what Dal Loggins has talked about. Just assuming Sellers all the information he can until the cutoff with, I think it's 15 seconds, like the NFL, before the play starts, saying, hey, look at this. Here's what coverage they're in. Watch out for this guy, linebacker coming off the edge or whatever it may be, just to give him that information so he knows what's coming on the next play, as well as obviously letting him know what the play call is and distributing that to his teammates and everything.
And if you're a tempo team, you can have conversation with the quarterback right up until the ball is snapped.
Right.
Do we still not know, because I was looking more here, like Maryland and Auburn, when they played in the Music City Bowl, Maryland had 3 players on offense, 3 on defense, but I still don't know, is that at the same time? Like, what did they do in that trial run? Now, obviously, we're not getting that now, but
sure,
to figure out, I think that's a key part of figuring out why Joey McGuire from Texas Tech is mad, or even I like the idea of more than one guy on the field being able to have it.
Sure.
Right. In the NFL, it's one on offense, one on defense, and that seems to be the model they've settled on. So I don't really, maybe they're just, hey, that's what the NFL does, so that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
But I still don't know if that was literally in those bowl games where they tried it out. Was it 3 on the field at the same time, or was it
just 3 total?
3 total, and you can only have one. I don't know how they structured it.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, whenever you implement something like this, there's going to be adjustments to it, and maybe you do end up having more guys, later on down the line because it makes more sense to do that. So we'll see. But again, it seems like from an offensive standpoint, most offensive coordinators, players, and stuff like that are in favor of this and what it can bring to the game.
So, but now, do you gamesmanship it? Like if you're playing a team that's not a tempo team, do you wait until you get down to 15 seconds, then change your defense?
Maybe. Yeah.
Or do you change your offense? Because the defense has communication into that point as well.
Yeah.
Is there an advantage to waiting until it gets down to 15 and then doing a quick audible and changing what you're doing?
Yeah, certainly possible. We'll see what happens. And again, that's all that's going to be coming across the board in college football for this upcoming season. Come back, wrap up hour number 2, a former opponent giving high praise to the atmosphere at Williams-Brice Stadium. Hit that coming up next. Tyler Head, West Mitchell, Chris Clark out at SteelHands Brewing in Casey, going until noon here on The Game.
From the Midlands to the PD to the beach.
The Game Network.
Download the 107.5 The Game app and listen anywhere. The beach, the gym, and yes, even there. Go to iTunes or Google Play and snag the 107.5 The Game app.
This is Boomer Esiason with Sports Minute, sponsored by Metal Supermarkets, the convenience stores for metal. Find a store at metalsupermarkets.com. Reviewing the Olympic medal count one last time, the U.S. dominated, followed by China, Great Britain, France, Australia, Japan, Italy, and Stanford. Current and former Cardinal student athletes amassed 39 total medals. That's more than the Netherlands, South Korea, Germany, and Canada. I'm Boomer Esiason.
When you've got real work to do, Metal Supermarkets will help you get it done fast. With a huge variety of metals in stock, we can help no matter what job comes your way. And all it takes is a few clicks. We make buying metal online easy so you can spend less time shopping and more time getting things done. Metal Supermarkets, the convenience stores for metal. Place an order online today at metalsupermarkets.com.
DQ presents. Picture this. Picture the DQ $7 bacon cheeseburger meal deal. Not just a cheeseburger, a bacon cheeseburger, plus fries, drink, and a sundae, all full-sized, all for $7. Because everything's better with bacon. Everything's also better with a side of fries, a refreshing drink, and a sundae to finish. The $7 bacon cheeseburger. Limited time on the $7 meal deal lineup. DQ, happy tasting.
Is your crawl space damp or musty? Water in your crawl space can cause wood to rot and creates an environment for mold and mildew that can make its way inside your home. Canty Foundation Specialist specializes in crawl space repair. Call us today for your free inspection so you can have the peace of mind knowing your crawl space is dry and your home is protected. Call today, 803-424-8380, or visit cantycanfixit.com.
Tommy! I can't wait for golf this weekend, huh, buddy? Time flies. Love you, man. Oh, don't forget your knee brace again. We aren't in college anymore.
Moments together matter, so help protect yourself from RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline nasal spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Do you like to play golf?
Are you passionate about helping others?
Then join us at our 16th annual Oliver Gospels Charity Classic.
Where all proceeds support the care of men, women, and children at Oliver Gospel and Toby's Place.
Assemble your team and help us golf for good on October 7th at Fort Jackson Golf Club.
Go online to olivergospel.org/golf tournament to sponsor or sign up today for the tournament.
The Extra Point
with Tyler Head and Gamecock Central
on the Game Network.
Don't touch my V-neck sweater. 1 and 2 and a 1, 2, 3.
Toughest place you ever played in on the road while you were at Georgia?
I would say South Carolina because I lost there twice. So kind of ready to go with that one.
Welcome back in. It is Extra Point Gamecock Central Takeover. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark out at SteelHands Brewing. In case the place is about to open up here in just a couple of minutes, so you can come by and see us. That was the voice of Todd Gurley on a Saturday and Set Down South podcast the other day. When asked about the toughest place he ever played in, South Carolina, a place that he was 0-2 at in his time at Georgia. And certainly with some rowdy atmospheres for that night game in 2012, as well as that day game that believe was delayed by weather back in 2014 as well.
Sorry, Tyler. I know you're hurting over there thinking about that.
I remember those games far too well.
That 38-35 win that was delayed by rain that you're talking about, it's one of the best football games. I feel like it doesn't get talked about as much because that season was that a 7-6 year?
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of that was when you started to see the slide really take place, but Carolina had not played very well going into that game,
right?
And there's a lot of people who really did not think South Carolina would beat Georgia, and then they come out. Weather is bad; it's delayed. The crowd is still just, they're in it.
Mm-hmm.
And Dylan Thompson played great that day. Spurrier had a phenomenal game plan on offense. Like they came out, had a perfect game plan, and that was a fun game. It literally came down to 1 inch,
Yep.
And a missed field goal as well, and a tough play call. Some people will tell
Run
you
the ball,
that,
Bobo.
that was one of the times I remember specifically. I think the entire fan base was very angry at Mike Bobo that day because they had gotten the interception down to the 3 or 4 yard line and were set up goal to go. Gurley had like 130 yards that day, was killing it on the ground, and Hudson Mason dropped back for a pass, sacked, intentional grounding, and then they end up going 4 and out and losing the game. And with that miss, or
Well, they
3 and out, and then
missed
missed the field goal. But people were saying you should have handed it off to Gurley on that first play because you had 4 yards to the end zone. He was averaging like 6 yards carry that day. And yeah, people were not happy with Mike Bobo that day.
There's been a couple notable run the dang ball Bobo moments that have benefited South Carolina. That was one of them. And then when he was at Auburn, they decided to chuck a long ball on a 4th and 1 instead of giving it to Tank Bigsby, who was rearing to go and also having a good game.
Yeah.
So,
but the other game that Gurley would have played in that 2012 game were just, I mean, that was a thorough beatdown.
Well, so when that was an SDS podcast, you said?
Yeah.
So they put it on Twitter and said, surprising answer here. I will take big issue with that because, first of all, what's surprising about it?
No.
Todd Gurley lost those couple games.
Yeah.
And anybody who was at that 2012 game, that may be the loudest I've heard any stadium.
Yeah.
I've been to Death Valley at night in 2012 when they beat South Carolina. That, at the very minimum, rivaled it. So there's nothing surprising about that.
And I'm thinking about other venues that he would have played in his time at Georgia that could rival South Carolina. They went on the road to Clemson in 2013. Auburn was kind of in a downturn at that point in time. Obviously play Florida at a neutral site. So I can't think of any other venue that you could make case to be better than what South Carolina was. Maybe Tennessee in 2013. That was a wild overtime game there. But even still, I think the environment at Williams-Brice is well known. It was top 15 on, College Football 25's toughest places to play. So I don't think that's a surprising answer.
Hasn't Gurley said that before?
I think so.
I'm pretty
some version of it.
Yeah, I don't think that's a surprise. I mean, the 2012 game, that was the loudest Williams-Brice has ever been for my money.
I think so.
And we talked about that with Ace Sanders, and that was a game. So you kind of felt like South Carolina, the 2014 game, kind of escaped, and Georgia. Part of the reason the fans are so upset for that play call is because Georgia did run the ball well that day and had success.
And that was
offense.
14. That's a pretty good Georgia team. I mean, that was one of the highest scoring offenses they had in school history up to that point. And that was definitely a game that people felt they let slip through their fingers there.
The 2012 game was completely different, played out completely differently. Do you know who the leading rusher was for Georgia that day?
Oh gosh.
Whoever you think of first, it's not then.
It would probably not be Todd Gurley or Keith Marshall if you're bringing it up.
Correct.
Ken Malcolm?
Yes. 5 carries for 45 yards, and that was probably in late action.
Yeah.
Gurley ran for 39, and Keith Marshall ran for 37.
Yeah, that's rough.
And Aaron Murray went 11 for 31 for 109 yards, no touchdowns.
Yeah, and got back. He shared a house in Athens with, I think, Christian Robinson and one other player. They said their house was egged and TP'd when they got back.
I remember Aaron Murray putting a pic on Twitter of Jadeveon Clowney coming at him, and his caption, Aaron Murray's caption was just like, "This dude is unreal."
Yeah.
Like, that's what he put. He was just crazy.
Yeah, that was a crazy night, and talking about some of the better moments and Willie B history. That the Ace Sanders punt return in that game. I mean, that probably measured on the Richter scale.
You know what's crazy about this that I didn't even remember it playing out this way? Do you know how many passes Connor Shaw threw?
Not many.
10.
Yeah.
Goodness.
10 passes from Connor. They ran the ball 51 times. Hey, if Steve Spurrier can change the way he wins a game,
right,
then any other coach, you're not too good to change. Like, if Spurrier can adjust, you can too.
2 hours down, 1 more hour to go. Again, at SteelHands Brewing out here in Casey, going until noon on the game.
.1075 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20K off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
Our friends over at Integrated Media can help take your home to the next level from an audiovisual standpoint. We've been talking a lot about football here in the preseason. It's right around the corner for not only South Carolina, for teams around the country. So you want to get your home ready, whether it's that man cave, whether it's your living room, your outdoor space, your kitchen, heck, your bathroom, wherever you watch TV, wherever you watch the games, they can help you get it set up. They can source the equipment for you. You don't have to go to one of the big box stores. You can go check out their showroom in Chapin or just give Michael, Nathan, the team at Integrated Media a call, 803-948-8327. Tell them the guys at the game from the Gamecock Central Takeover Hours sent you over to them. They've been to my home. They've been to West Mitchell's home. They can come out to yours too. They can do everything from sourcing the equipment to actually mounting it for you and making sure it's completely set up. IntegratedMediaInc.com or 803-948-8327.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Take a moment and think of one thing that you really wanted to do recently, but you didn't because your foot, leg, or back pain got in the way. Hi, it's Dan from the Good Feet store, and that's why we're here, to help you get back out there. Good Feet arch supports from the Good Feet store. They're designed to alleviate foot, knee, hip, and back pain, plus provide improved balance, more comfort, and, well, a better life. Try them for yourself with a free arch support fitting at the Good Feet store.
The Good Feet store. Call 1-800-NEW-FEET or visit goodfeet.com.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet. Incredible summer savings all summer long on the entire lineup of award-winning Chevys. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
Hey, this is Jen Jensen for CHW Cabinetry. My family is using CHW Cabinetry, and they are fantastic to work with. They make sure you're satisfied with every step of the process. Not only do their photorealistic renderings show exactly what your new space will look like, their job site guarantees everyone is on the same page, literally. Experience the CHW difference for yourself. Go to chwcabinetry.com to see more or call them at 803-520-6837 and be sure to tell them Jen Jensen sent you. CHW Cabinetry, passion from inspiration to installation.
He went to doctor after doctor looking for relief and always walked away discouraged. Surgery and drugs hadn't worked before, so why would he try them again? That's when Carmen made an appointment at QC Kinetics.
I'll tell you one thing. I got a spring in my step. The bounce is back in my step. My quality of life improving exponentially since I've been going to QC Kinetics.
QC Kinetics has treated over 35,000 patients like Carmen, using their own healing components, concentrating them into damaged knees, hips, shoulders, and backs. No surgery, no drugs.
The pain's gone. Quality of life so much better. And mentally, I'm in such a better place because I know that I'm not going to wake up to the same old struggles that I have been dealing with every single day. 10 months ago, no joke, I was a prime candidate for a knee replacement. Today, I'm not because of the treatment I'm receiving at QC Kinetics.
Carmen finally got relief, and it was easy, starting with a free consultation at QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics, 803-281-6860. That's 803-281-6860. 803-281-6860.
It's 4 a.m. and you're sucking baby snot through a tube because she's congested. If you love her that much, love her enough to make sure she's buckled in the right car seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
WNKT-FM, Eastover, Columbia.
The home of the national champion, Gamecocks women's basketball team. Congrats, y'all.
A Cumulus media station.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour
With Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell, and Tyler Head.
on your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia
107.5 The Game.
on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5
The Game in Florence.
Welcome back in. Is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler Head, West Metro, Chris Clark, along with you out at SteelHands Brewing in Casey. Place just opened up. You can come by and see us. We got T-shirts, we got koozies, got some food out here. Obviously, you can get some delicious craft beer as well as, again, we're going until noon. I want to jump back into the Gamecock football conversation as we navigate through camp, and you guys aren't going to get to view any more camp or any more practice sessions. Obviously, the scrimmages are closed to the media. So everything that we have for the next 2.5 weeks is going to come from what the coaches tell us. And it almost kind of feels like we're at this stalemate, right? Like we have these ideas of where we would think position battles and stuff are going to go, but until somebody says otherwise, we don't know. You know what I mean? So I don't think we're going to have to wait until the first game to see everything, but we're probably going to go in still having more questions than answers when they finally play on August 31st.
We'll get some more crumbs, some more nuggets up until then. We'll hear some things publicly. We'll hear some things privately. But, yeah, I mean, a lot of it's like any first game any year. A lot of it's just going to be, hey, you got to kind of wait and see. You know, there's going to be things that you think. There's going to be some things that you know.
Sure.
But this year in particular, just because of some of the changes, transfers, new guys, freshmen, what does the offense look like? I mean, you know, just in terms of scheme, philosophy.
Yeah.
You know, with some of those tweaks that you expect there that will happen. Yeah, more questions for sure.
You know, we'll get that week 1 depth chart, which will at least give us a pretty good idea on who's going to roll out there first. You know, and so we'll have that information. Now, will it be filled with some ors? Maybe we won't have all the information on who's the starters, but I do think that's a good information piece leading into that first game that you can kind of chew on and gives you a little bit more official information. I'll be curious to see, when do they name a starting quarterback? Like, when does that become official? And how do they want to go about that? I think the most fascinating question that hasn't been talked about quite as much, what does this offensive scheme look like compared to what we saw last year? How much is it all kind of Dow Loggins sort of decision-making? How much does he lean on a Sean Elliott coming in? You know, we were talking about that Georgia State game 2 years ago against South Carolina. I mean, they consistently ran the football at Georgia State with a running quarterback. And then you have Mike Shula as well.
Yeah.
How much influence does he have as a guy who, you know, was Cam Newton's quarterback coach in the NFL?
Yeah. Off of that, Dave, let's go with cut number 9 here. This is Kason Henry yesterday talking to the media, and he was posed the question of what he thought this team's offensive identity was going to be based on what they've been doing in camp so far. Here is what his response was.
I think that we are going to be more of like a ground pound run the ball team. I think that's why we brought in a lot of really good transfers like Torricelli, Kamar, guys like that, that are really going to help us in that run game. And I think that we're going to be a ground pound team. We're going to be a physical offensive line, big physical offensive line. I think that's what y'all want to see, and I think that's what our fans want to see. And I think that's really going to help us with the pass game as well, because if we can get defenses on their toes with the run game, then the pass game's that much easier.
And that makes a lot of sense given the skill set of your quarterback, what you have with Rocket Sanders in the backfield and all that kind of stuff. I think the question is, what does that split look like? Like, is it 60-40? Is it 70-30? How much do you differentiate between the run and the pass with this offense?
Yeah, and I think ground and pound can mean a lot of different things in terms of structurally how you actually go do it. Or are they going to be willing to run a guy like Lenore Sellers in terms of, you know, zone read, inverted veer, all that stuff that puts your quarterback in a situation to get hit, frankly, more than you want. But, you know, or is it going to be more like, hey, let's just get the ball to these backs. Let's let Lenoris run the ball. when it pops up, like he drops back, he sees something's not there, and he takes off, and you can kind of I don't think you can tell him don't run, but I think there are certainly ways you can make it to where, there's kind of different levels to it. Like you can run actual quarterback power, quarterback draw, stuff like that, where you're guaranteeing he's going to be running the football. You can run it to where you're calling reads, where it's a zone read type situation, and the defense is going to dictate it, but there's a good chance he's going to run the football. Or you can say, look, we're going to try to kind of limit that, and our runs are going to be designed handoffs, and he's only going to run the football when he drops back to pass, and there's nothing available down the field. So I'll be very curious to see how they structure this thing. I did think it was interesting, and I'm pretty sure Sellers credited Shula for this concept, but somebody asked him his last media availability, how do you make the decision when to try and make a guy miss or run through a tackle versus getting down, especially as a big 245-pound guy? Do y'all recall what he said?
I don't, not off the top of my head.
How do you think a quarterback should make the decision? I've never heard it phrased this way, but it makes complete sense. If there's one guy and you're in Norris Sellers, go make him miss or run through him. If it's multiple guys, if it's 2 guys, 3, if it's a crowd of defenders, get down or get out of bounds. So basically, they gave
Makes
him
a lot of sense.
They but have you ever heard it just laid out,
boiled down?
Boiled down to a simple decision, not go with what you feel, go with your gut. It's, hey, if it's one guy, we trust that you're winning a lot of those battles. And I would imagine statistically, your chance of injury goes far down when you're creating contact or creating some space, making a guy miss when it's one-on-one. Not that it can't happen. Of course it can happen. But I imagine the percentage of injuries go way down versus, I mean, how many times do guys get hurt when they're getting hit by 2 or 3 guys because they're getting hit from different angles, different directions? You got a guy hitting you high and low at the same time, and that's when injuries happen. So if it's 2, 3, 4, if it's a crowd, get down or get out of bounds. I think that's a fantastic way to just boil it down to a simple, actionable instruction from the coaching staff.
Yeah, I think so. That definitely makes a lot of sense. I believe we have David on the Lev Chevrolet phone line who wants to weigh in on this conversation. David, appreciate your call. What's on your mind this morning?
Hey, guys, I just had a real quick question. If you're Old Dominion, do you look at Arkansas tapes where Dowell was and had a quarterback that was similar to what Lenore brings to the table? Appreciate what you do, man. I'll take it off there. Thank y'all.
Absolutely. Appreciate the call there. And I think that's a very solid question to ask. And Dow Loggins has been asked a lot this offseason with, of course, he's not going to give it away that, there are ideas and similarities between what Sellers has as a big mobile quarterback and what KJ Jefferson was doing with Rocket Sanders, his time back at Arkansas. So I certainly think if you were Old Dominion, you could glean a little bit from that. I don't think it's going to be the specific exact carbon copy plays, but the idea of what the offensive identity is going to be could probably be pretty similar.
Let me ask a stupid question. If you're Old Dominion, I know you're trying to win every game.
Sure.
But like, are you treating this like your Super Bowl, or are you just is this more like, hey, let's go play a game. Let's not get all of our guys hurt. Let's get ready for conference play. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
you would never admit it.
Sure. You would admit it. Like, we're going out there trying to win every game, but yeah.
Internally, when you're truly sitting down with just you and your staff.
Yeah. I mean, do you view this as a game you think you got a good shot in? Considering hey, it's 5-7 team. A lot of new guys.
Virginia
Tech before. Like, I feel like they probably come in thinking they have somewhat of a chance. This isn't, we're going to go play Alabama and we're Western Carolina or something like that.
Yeah. So, and the reason I ask is because you could go as deep with this thing as you want in terms of, like, I imagine it's a game 1, so you do have more time. You have the whole summer if you want to. If you think it's worth it, I think you're going back. You're looking at tape of Dow at Arkansas. Now, he was not the play caller there, but now will he be maybe borrowing some concepts from that? I would think so. The skill sets are too similar, and you have Rocket in the backfield too, so that makes sense. You're going to go back. You're going to look at, obviously, the very limited tape of Lenoris last year from a skill set standpoint. You're going to look at what South Carolina did last year, kind of knowing this is not going to be the same scheme, but will some of the passing game stuff be the same? You would imagine. You're going to look at Lenoris in high school. What did he do in high school that worked so well? And then I would dare say you're going to go look at what Sean Elliott did at Georgia State. And you maybe even go look at some of the stuff the Panthers were doing with Cam Newton. And like, if you want to go really deep with this thing,
sure.
As a staff, now I don't know if you put all that on your players in terms of like, hey, you look at this, look at that.
Well,
I think you got to take all that information and try to boil it down to what you expect they're going to do.
I do think if you're Old Dominion, you also have the benefit of the fact that this is your first game. So it's not like, this is the 5th game of the season. You only have that 1 week prepare for it. You really have the entire offseason. So if you really wanted to put that much detail into it, you do have the ability to put that time in these weeks leading up to the game, for where you may not be able to do that later on in the season or something like that.
Yeah, and for South Carolina, I mean, if you're South Carolina, you would like to be sitting there in your internal conversation saying, let's go out there and run some base stuff and really execute it and just go out and win. Play great defense, play great special teams, run the football, hit some explosive plays, and then go get ready to go to Lexington, where you might break out a few of the other things that you've been working on, where everybody that you're playing is looking around going, they're asking the same questions we are. What's the offense going to look like? They've got their big binders and their iPads and all their film of all these different things, but South Carolina doesn't have tape from 2024 yet. Yeah. And there are a lot of differences that we expect.
Yeah. And that's certainly worth noting too, that, you want to keep as many things in your back pocket as you can before you go on the road to Lexington, so you can, catch those guys by, by surprise, that hopefully you don't have to roll it out too much in that week number 1 game against Old Dominion. I don't know. It's an interesting dynamic, but I think Wes brings up a good point that, if you're Old Dominion, do you think this is a game you do have a chance to win, or is it one that you're saying, hey, it's a pay game. We get a lot of money for coming here, try not to get our guys hurt, and let's focus on, our more realistic goals of beating our teams in conference the week after that or whatever.
Yeah, and again, you're never going to say that. You're never even going to hint to that publicly, but I think it's got to be a part of your conversation. Now, that may be silly. They may be saying, no, we're going to Columbia to win a football game, and we don't care if nobody believes in us, and we're going to do everything possible to go win the game. So I think it is a fascinating maybe aspect to this.
We are broadcasting live at SteelHands Brewing out in Casey. This is one of the places you can actually use the craft beer card, by the way. If you buy that on 1075thegame.com, just click on the Sweet Deals tab, and you can purchase it all yours for just $79, $306 total value. Again, there's only a few left, so get over to 1075thegame.com and purchase your craft beer card while you have the chance. Going to talk to our guy Chris Wellbaum, get the latest on what's happening with South Carolina women's basketball at this point in the summer. Coming up next, it is Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs at SteelHands in Casey, here on The Game.
107.5 The Game.
In Columbia.
100.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.3 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach. The Game Network. Yes, that phone in your pocket or purse will keep you in touch with your family and friends. It will take great selfies of you on amazing adventures or just this morning's breakfast. And it's pretty good in case of an emergency. But the single most important function of your phone is the game.
But both defenses have been this year. What's so funny?
That noise. You can listen anywhere. Just go to iTunes or Google Play and download the Game app now. 1075 The Game, broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20K off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
All right, y'all. We've been telling you about our friends at Gold Line Framing for quite a while now. Owner Kendall Walsh, manager Johnny James. They still want to take care of any and all of your custom framing needs. Of course, anything you can really think of that could hold a frame, they can do for you. That could be diplomas, original artwork, canvases, jerseys, flags. If you have signed prints of football players or really any sport, they can frame that up for you well with a custom framing job from Gold Line Framing, which has been in business for over 20 years. If you want to head on over there and check it out in store, see what they have going on, that's at 511 12th Street, West Columbia, right down the road from us right now. In store, they also have other ideas where You can get a gift for someone. Art gallery, home decor, furniture, and other gift items right there. If you already know what you're wanting to do, call and set it up right now. 803-739-1337. Again, that's Gold Line Framing. That's over at 511 12th Street, West Columbia. Phone number again, 803-739-1337.
Deep in the heart of racing country lies a track too tough to tame. The perfect setting for the late season drama of the Southern 500.
Outside lane gets the launch.
One last chance to make a playoff push. One last chance to catch regular season racing.
All clear.
One last chance to plan a Labor Day weekend worth bragging about.
Southern 500, baby.
NASCAR weekend at Darlington Raceway, August 31st and September 1st. Get your tickets now at darlingtonraceway.com.
Hey, this is Brian Glenn, owner of Village Idiot Pizza. You know your favorite Columbia pizza shop is franchising? We're excited to welcome franchise operators to our team as we grow throughout the Southeast. Ever thought you'd like to see a Village Idiot in your community? I'm talking to you, Lexington, Irmo, Chapin, Blythewood. Village Idiot Pizza has been bringing people together through community and pizza in Columbia for over 30 years. If you know someone who's ready to join a proven system and be their own boss, join our village. For more info, visit villageidiotpizza.com.
Do you want to transform your outdoor space? Look no further than Make It Rain Irrigation and Landscapes. Specializing in all aspects of landscape construction, enhancements, and outdoor entertainment, they offer a wide range of services to make your outdoor dreams a reality. From outdoor lighting for homes and businesses to hardscape design and build, including outdoor kitchens, water features, stonework, and more. No rain, no pain. Call Make It Rain Irrigation and Landscapes today at 803-673-6337 or online at makeitrain803sc.com.
Back for a limited time only, it's Firehouse Subs Barbecue Cuban Sub featuring slow smoked pulled pork, honey ham, melted Swiss, golden mustard barbecue sauce, chipotle slaw, and spicy pickle chips, all on a toasted sub roll. It's Southern roots with a Cuban twist. Try the Barbecue Cuban Sub at Firehouse Subs today. They make their subs differently because their subs can make a difference every day. At Firehouse Subs, a portion of every purchase helps provide much-needed life-saving equipment to first responders across the country. Firehouse Subs. Enjoy more subs, save more lives.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet, South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer. Don't let the summer of savings pass you by. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
Attention South Carolina residents turning 65 or approaching retirement. Don't wait to choose your Medicare coverage. The Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina Medicare team can help you find your plan right away. We offer plans that let you choose from our large network of doctors and hospitals and fast local service. Time is short, so call 833-747-0533, 833-747-0533 today.
Strengthening the lives of children and families is a passion. Turn that passion into results as a child welfare case manager. Learn more at dss.sc.gov. This message is sponsored by the South Carolina Department of Social Services.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour
With Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell, and Tyler Head
on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, and Chris Clark along with you out at SteelHands Brewing in Casey. Place is open. You can come by and see us, get some food, grab craft beer. Got T-shirts, got koozies, the whole 9 yards if you want to come and hang out. And again, we're going to be out here until noon. Want to check in with what's going on with South Carolina women's basketball with our guy from Gamecock Central, Chris Wellbaum. Chris, appreciate your time this morning. I want to start off with this. Of course, just a couple days ago, we saw the U.S. women win another gold medal. Asia Wilson at the forefront of that, as she has been for several years now. Dawn Staley over there getting a lot of camera time and being on the coverage of the Olympics and everything. We already know the brand of South Carolina women's basketball is top of the top when it comes to college basketball. How much more do those kind of things add to it?
You hear from recruits all the time that they want to see people that look like them accomplishing things around the world, and in different industries. And seeing Dawn Staley on TV with her, analysis of the game and doing the interviews, seeing Asia really become the face of women's basketball they recruits look at that and they say, there's a path for me to do that too, and South Carolina is a place that can help me get there.
Well, you wrote a piece recently that I think this whole units, like television units thing, is maybe confusing to some people. We know that situation is improving for the women's college basketball tournament, but break it down for the listeners. What are units? Why do they matter? Why should they care? What does it mean for the women's game?
Yeah, it's funny because even a lot of men's coaches, the men have had units for forever. Even men's coaches don't fully understand how units work. It's a really confusing, complicated system. But in a nutshell, in the men's tournament, and this is what's coming to the women's tournament, the NCAA pays schools a certain amount of money for each game that they appear in, except for the national championship game. And those are called units. And for the 2024 tournament, one unit was worth about $2 million. And that figure gets adjusted every year based on some complicated formula that I couldn't begin to understand. But the units are the individual teams earn the units. The units are then distributed by the NCAA to the conferences, and then the conferences are responsible for distributing that money back to their member schools. So, for example, South Carolina men earned $2 million for their appearance in the NCAA tournament. They don't get that $2 million. The SEC gets it. But then the SEC also gets all the money from Alabama making the Final Four, and it's all pulled together and distributed. And then the big key is that the units are paid out over 6 years. So one tournament appearance earns money for the next 6 years. And for small conferences, for one bid leagues, that's a substantial portion of their annual athletics operating budget. And up until next year, for the entire existence of the women's tournament, the NCAA hasn't paid the teams. So despite winning the championship and going undefeated, South Carolina didn't earn a cent last year. And coaches have been begging for the NCAA. Women's coaches have been begging for years. Dawn's been begging. I know Corey Close at UCLA has been very vocal about it. But just across the board, every year come tournament time, they ask, when are we going to get units? Because the way they see it, units are not just a reward for doing well, but also a motivation to do well. Because when there was no reward for making the tournament, no tangible reward, it was easy for certain programs to sort of dismiss women's basketball as not important. And it's going to be harder to do that now that they are making money. They're not going to be making $2 million. It's going to be something like $250,000, something like that per game. The numbers aren't exact yet, but it's still a huge step forward for women's basketball.
Hey, Welly. So when we had Coach on, I guess that was a couple months ago, she kind of lightheartedly talked about maybe some teams just don't want to play the Gamecocks for whatever reason. And so then she got to the point where, as she was finalizing this schedule, she took to social media and said, look, hate to have to get to this point, but we need a game. Just how difficult is it? Now, I know there are certain teams that South Carolina has just now been able to consistently play. You know, UConn and Carolina has now become a really cool rivalry that they play every single year. But how hard is it now that this program is at the level that it is for them to even actually put together a schedule and finding, marquee teams that are willing to play the Gamecocks?
Yeah, a lot of teams, a lot of programs just look at it as we're signing up for a loss, and we don't want to do that. And I think that's I think that's short-sighted on their part, because would you rather have a chance at beating the number one team in the country, or have a guarantee game against a mid-major where you don't learn anything about yourself? I mean, you could look at Maryland, which played South Carolina every season at the beginning of the year for I think it was 8 years, and they only won once, but they kept coming back because it made them better in the long run. Because by the end of the year, they'd be better and they'd make a tournament run. So it's difficult. It's difficult because of travel. There are teams that are willing to play, but the travel becomes prohibitive. It's, playing at Stanford and at UCLA is a budget buster for South Carolina. And that's why the Stanford series didn't get renewed. And that's why the UCLA series got delayed for a year, because those trips really take a big bite out of your budget for the year, and you spend the rest. You have to schedule around them, I guess is a good way to put it, because you've got to make up for that cost somehow.
And talking to our guy Chris Wellbaum from Gamecock Central about South Carolina women's basketball, and later on in that article, you're writing about the need for more advertising, particularly as it pertains to the NCAA women's tournament, compared to the men's tournament. But yesterday we talked a little bit about the news of Tennessee striking the deal with Pilot for the on-the-field sponsorship at Neyland Stadium, as well as them buying into the renovation project that's going to be happening out there as well. Is something along those same lines, maybe an on-the-court sponsorship, something on the jerseys, maybe an avenue that women's basketball could be exploring in the future in terms of trying to create more revenue for a sport that outside of a place like South Carolina doesn't do it as much at other places?
Yeah, it's one of those anything's possible right now. Last week Ohio State was talking about selling jersey ads, and that's the richest athletics department in the country, and they're looking for more revenue. So it's a great unknown with the House settlement and having to pay players, and starting I guess next year. But could ads be a way to do that? Possibly. I have a feeling that if teams or if schools started making too much money off of it, the NCAA would step in and try to figure out how to get its own cut of the money. But it's certainly out there. I don't know that it's imminent. Tennessee's the one that's taking the plunge for everybody else to kind of monitor. So we'll see how that works.
Good insight as always. We appreciate it. And I know we're on the countdown to college football, but basketball, all of college basketball will be here before we know it. And we'll be checking with you again a little bit later on down the line. Appreciate it as always, Chris.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Again, Tyler Head, West Mitchell, Chris Clark. We're broadcasting live out at SteelHands Brewing in Casey. Place is open. You can come by, grab some food, grab a craft beer, and come hang out with us going up until noon on your Wednesday here on The Game.
The Game Network in Columbia.
107.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.5 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach.
100.3 The Game.
It's back.
Starting Monday, July 29th, the ultimate Gamecock season ticket giveaway from The Game, sponsored by the Men's Clinic.
Seller's going to take it himself. Look at the young man explode. And there it goes. There's the speed and into the end zone. Touchdown, Carolina.
One lucky fan will snag season tickets to every South Carolina football, baseball, men's and women's hoops games. At home, all you'll have to do is go to 1075thegame.com and register.
We'll announce the winner at our Summer Golf Classic at Charwood.
The ultimate Gamecock season ticket giveaway 2.0, sponsored by the Men's Clinic from The Game.
All right, y'all. I know we all, if you own your home, you maybe want to upgrade it, and maybe there's that special bath that you want to mix up or kitchen that you want to change up. And our friends over at Midlands Home Renovations, they want to handle any and all those needs for you. Head on over right now, MidlandsHomeRenovations.com, where you can get more information, not just about their services, but also about some things they have done in the past for other folks here in the greater Columbia area. Also, if you're ready to take the plunge, call them right now, 803-632-4520. They specialize in whole home, kitchen, and bath transformations. And as one of the top-rated general contractors in all the Midlands, you can rest assured that your home it's being placed in great hands. So for modern kitchens, luxurious baths, that sunroom add-on that you've been dreaming of, they're going to take your vision and then they're going to bring it to life for you. The way to handle that right now, again, MidlandsHomeRenovations.com, or just call them 803-632-4520.
Start making your plans to catch a game at Williams-Brice Stadium this fall. Single game tickets for the 2024 Gamecock football season are on sale now. For more information, visit GamecocksOnline.com/2024. Whatever the game, whoever you're with, just catch a game.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
This year, Roy and Dana Finley are shaking things up at AAA Heating and Air. For the next 12 months, they're telling their customers no. Get a new system purchase with no payments and no interest until 2025. And don't forget their 15-year parts and labor warranty, $1,500 old system buyback, and guaranteed financing. So do what I did. Call AAA Heating and Air for your free estimate today and tell them Jay Phillips sent you.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies candidates with the right skills, sends you great matches, then you can easily invite them to apply. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Progressive presents good news, bad news, dumb news, and great news. Good news. A letter in your mailbox says you could save money bundling your home and auto insurance with Progressive. Bad news. You saw it after your teenager backed the car into the mailbox. Dumb news. A new mailbox, basically a box on a stick, costs up to $400. Great news. You decide to see if you could save money bundling at Progressive.com and go with paperless mail instead. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Is that your new Nissan Rogue? Yeah. Crazy story. I'm at the Nissan end of summer sales event when Laura, the saleswoman, asks,
Want to test drive the Rogue?
I'm like, let's go. We're driving when Laura says,
Want to see something cool? VC turbo engine.
I hit the gas and whoosh. I'm like, okay, wasn't expecting that. Laura goes,
check this out.
She shows me the miles per gallon and I'm like, wow, that's pretty impressive fuel economy.
These new Nissan Rogues are going fast.
I knew I had to have that Nissan Rogue. Crazy, right?
Wait till you hear how I got my Nissan Sentra.
Get up to $2,500 total savings on remaining select early model 2024 Rogue Platinum trims. 2024 EPA fuel economy estimates from 28 city 34 highway to 30 city 37 highway for 2024 Nissan Rogue. Actual mileage may vary. Total savings consists of $1,250 retail customer cash plus $1,250 bonus cash on select remaining 2024 Rogue inventory as available at your local dealership. Select Rogue bonus cash available on 40% of dealers' most aged inventory. Updated weekly. Available on purchase from new dealer stock. Contact your local dealer for current inventory information. Ends 9/3/24.
Have a passion for serving children and families? Apply to become a child welfare case manager at dss.sc.gov. This message is sponsored by the South Carolina Department of Social Services.
What you're talking about.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
On the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark along with you on your Wednesday, broadcasting live out at SteelHands Brewing in Casey, going up until noon. Guys, did you realize today is a very special anniversary in the SEC?
Yep.
It's the 10-year anniversary of the SEC network. We all know Carolina did not get off to the greatest start on the SEC network in that game against Texas A&M, but it is a place that they've played quite a few games in the year since. In fact, 63 games with a record of 33-30. So they at least have a winning record on the SEC network. I posed the question to you guys yesterday. I went back and looked at every single game they played on the network. Some years, there weren't good games to take away, but I've narrowed it down to the 5 best games that Carolina has won on the SEC network. Our options are 2014 overtime win against Florida.
That was the end of the Muschamp era at Florida.
That is correct.
I feel like we need to give the people context on these games too. So
the 2018 Scarnecchia game against Missouri
in a monsoon.
The 2021 mauling of Florida, Jason Brown game.
Cool.
2022 win against A&M, the first time they'd won in that rivalry, quote unquote. And then Last year, I went with the Kentucky game, 17-14 here at Williams-Brice Stadium. So 5 options to pick from there. Which one are we going with?
Win over. So let's eliminate.
Okay.
The win over Florida, the first one you have on here that was the end of the Muschamp era for Florida. I feel like people were checked out that season.
Yeah.
And I don't know how South Carolina won that game.
Sure.
Like that game was over.
The best description I've ever seen of that game and how that happened was from Spencer Hall, formerly of Every Day Should Be Saturday, who has probably the most unique brain in human history and is a Florida fan. And he said, I remember he wrote something about that game in the end of the Muschamp era, and he said that if you could block a punt with your mind, Florida did it and handed it to South Carolina with a smile. That's what he said. He's like, that punt was blocked before the ball was snapped, is what he said.
Yeah, and the only way you lose that game is
I was at that game.
So was I.
I was not looking. I was like, I think I was looking at my phone or something.
He's about to tweet a hot take.
Or just looking down, and I heard something, and my wife was with me, and she was like, they just blocked the punt. I said, what? Huh? How'd that happen?
You heard the thud of the block point or block punt noise?
Name the player who did it.
Oh God, it's our guy.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to help me.
Our guy?
Yeah, you're gonna have to help me.
Carlton Hurd.
You caught me completely off guard.
Sorry
by
about
asking
that.
me who.
You say you eliminate that one.
That's not the answer.
Okay. So
I
we'll
agree.
take that one off the board. And again, like I tried to find one for every single year. Some years there just weren't any notable enough games. So I tried to narrow it down to 5. But yeah,
re-give the 4.
Yeah, so the 4 remaining is 2018, the Missouri game, Scarnecchia in the Monsoon 37-35. 2021, the beating against Florida, 40-17, the Jason Brown game. Texas A&M in 2022, 30-24. That was a game Leggett had the punt return, and obviously the first win against A&M. And then last year, the game against Kentucky here, 17-14.
I will eliminate that one as well.
Okay.
Oh, why's that?
Season finished 5-7.
Yep.
It was a big win. I mean,
it was a good game.
It was a great. I mean,
great atmosphere. Great
Darude was there.
Good win. Yeah.
Great atmosphere. But I don't think it stands the test of time to these other ones that are these historical matchups.
Well, here's the thing: if you're playing on the SEC network, it's not the game of the week. So it is a little different than picking out the best games ever in Gamecock history.
So beating A&M,
yeah,
first time in program history
ever. That was my gut right there.
I feel like there's maybe still a little recency bias on that. I actually think I would go with Florida or Mizzou over that one.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you why. So the Jason Brown Florida game, that thing came, the beatdown aspect, not that South Carolina couldn't win the game going in, but they were like 20-point underdogs going into this game.
Well, that whole season, nobody expected anything out of South Carolina, and that was the Florida team that the year prior was in the SEC championship game.
Yeah, that was not just a win.
Right.
That was a straight up beatdown. And Jason, who's been on the show, Jason Brown had a great game. That was a year Carolina was trying to find a quarterback. And the feeling in the stands, like there was a moment, there was this guy. He's actually a fairly local coach, but I won't call him out. He was sitting near me in the stands, and he just literally he had like a moment where he put his hands up and like looked up into the sky and was just like, "Where has this been all season long?" Like there was such a just cathartic feel in the stadium to not just winning that game, but beating the brakes off of Florida.
Yeah,
that. Like the Missouri game, that was like one of the best, most fun wins, I feel like, in South Carolina history, and the Scarnecchia aspect. And it came down to like multiple final field goals. To me, it's down to those two. the best game, just purely game, is that Missouri game, I think. But, man, there was something special in that stadium against Florida.
That's true.
That night. Break the tie, Chris.
And it was a rebound game because, they had just gotten beat by 30 points at Texas A&M the week before. That's been kind of actually a hallmark of the Shane Beamer era is, you can have whatever opinion of what's happened so far, but there have been multiple instances where this team's done, they're out, they just lost by 30, they just lost by this, that, they should just pack it up and then they'll come out and win a game.
They will bounce back.
They'll bounce back. And that season was a roller coaster because it was 30-point loss to A&M, whoop Florida, 3-point loss to Missouri on the road, painful, beat Auburn at home. It was just like back and forth. So that does give it a little bit of juice. Okay, so I have to break the tie between the Florida game, the Monsoon game.
Yes.
Just those two?
Well, I mean, if you want to put –
no, we got Kentucky, A&M, and then what's the other one?
That's the 4 because we took out the 14 Florida game.
No, we took out Kentucky too.
I took out Kentucky.
I took out A&M, but you still have A&M in there?
Yeah, you kind of taught me into it a little bit.
Into taking it out?
Yeah, into taking it out.
I think it comes down to Missouri.
Yeah,
and then
because the Missouri one was so crazy because you had the Monsoon, you had
it's just an insane.
The entertainment value of that one is maybe higher than the other ones.
Didn't you have a Sherrod Green pick six
of Drew Lock? Threw it right to
Hurricane. Like it was just
well, and that was a solid season for South Carolina as well.
Yeah,
so you don't look at it and go, "Oh, it was a good win in a bad year."
Right?
It wasn't. It was a good year. Yeah, you know what? I think I might have to go with the Florida game.
Okay, so we all in agreement. The 21 victory against Florida, 40-17, is the best win for South Carolina on the SEC network.
Also, birthed little chomp.
Yes,
from Jabari Ellis, the football that he recovered, he put on his shelf, named Little Chomp. Still around, I think.
Yeah.
We need to get Jabari on the show.
That would be fun. He hangs around sometimes. I saw him in the facility the other day.
Yeah.
Comes around.
So, again, Carolina, 63 games on the SEC network in its 10 years, 33-30 record, and we are crowning the 21 game against Florida, 40-17 victory, the Jason Brown game, as the best victory in South Carolina's tenure on the SEC network, where they'll be opening the season against Old Dominion 4:15 on August the 31st. We'll come back, wrap up today's edition of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs out at SteelHands. Let you know once again what's going to be going on out here over the course of the next couple weeks. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark here on The Game.
From the Midlands to the PD to the beach.
The Game Network. The Game's Summer Golf Classic Golf Tournament is coming.
Sign up start the week of July 29th. Call Charwood at 803-755-2000 to reserve your foursome. One lucky player will win a pair of season tickets to all Gamecocks home football games.
The Games 2024 Summer Golf Classic is August 23rd at Charwood. Call 803-755-2000 to reserve your foursome.
This is Maggie Gray with the Sports Minute, sponsored by Wrangler. It's Wrangler season out there. Open roads, endless horizons. Shop Wrangler.com for new denim styles. Minnesota rookie quarterback J.J. McCarthy reportedly tore the meniscus in his knee, an injury that could sideline him for weeks or months, depending on the severity. And while you never want a setback like this, it does ease the pressure to start the rookie right away. Rarely a bad thing. I'm Maggie Gray.
It's Wrangler season out there. Warmer days, cooler nights. Open roads, endless horizons. And you need to be ready in jeans made for the unpredictable. Wrangler, for the ride of life. Shop our newest styles today at Wrangler.com.
Some people just know the best rate for you is a rate based on you with Allstate. Not a rate based on Terry who keeps and makes the car behind them. Oh no, they're about to. Save with DriveWise and the Allstate app and only pay a rate based on you.
Not available in every state, subject to terms and conditions. Rating factors and savings vary, and in some states your rate could increase with high-risk driving. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Is your vehicle stopping like it should? Does it squeal or grind when you brake? Don't miss out on summer brake deals at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly. Auto Parts.
All right, it's lunchtime, guys. Wes has informed me he is hungry, and he will be going.
Starving, some could even say.
Some may say. And the good news is, right down the road from where we're broadcasting right now out at SteelHands Brewing is a Firehouse Subs. And, in fact, anywhere that you are in the Midlands, really, there's a Firehouse Subs close to you because there are 14 different locations of Firehouse Subs in the Midlands, all owned and operated by our good friend and supporter of the show, friend of the program, Larry Chandler. We appreciate Larry. Shout out to him. Wes is going to go enjoy one of the new limited time offerings. If you want to check that out, go check it out, firehousesubs.com. The cool thing about using firehousesubs.com to order online, or my favorite method, the Rapid Rescue, you can earn yourself some rewards on future purchases. Use the Rapid Rescue to go. Avoid the wait. Order online, firehousesubs.com or the Firehouse Subs app.
Is that your new Nissan Rogue?
Yeah, crazy story. I'm at the Nissan end of summer sales event when Laura, the saleswoman, asks,
Want to test drive the Rogue?
I'm like, let's go. We're driving when Laura says,
Want to see something cool? VC turbo engine.
I hit the gas and whoosh. I'm like, okay, wasn't expecting that. Laura goes,
Check this out.
She shows me the miles per gallon, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty impressive fuel economy.
These new Nissan Rogues are going fast.
I knew I had to have that Nissan Rogue. Crazy, right?
Wait till you hear how I got my Nissan Sentra.
Get up to $2,500 total savings on remaining select early model 2024 Rogue Platinum trims. 2024 EPA fuel economy estimates from 28 city 34 highway to 30 city 37 highway for 2024 Nissan Rogue. Actual mileage may vary. Total savings consists of $1,250 retail customer cash plus $1,250 bonus cash on select remaining 2024 Rogue inventory as available at your local dealership. Select Rogue bonus cash available on 40% of dealers' most aged inventory. Updated weekly. Available on purchase from new dealer stock. Contact your local dealer for current inventory information. Ends 9/3/24.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour
with Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell, and Tyler Head
on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark along with you for a few more minutes here out at SteelHands Brewing in Casey. Appreciate Ashley and everybody for allowing us to be here once again. Certainly always enjoy our time out here. And as we talked about a little bit earlier, a lot of cool things going on here at SteelHands. Of course, they've been doing their Nashville Nights all summer long. Last one of those coming up this Friday night.
Yep, Nashville Nights coming up this Friday. Exciting times here at SteelHands. It's actually going to be a pretty big weekend. They got Nashville Nights this Friday. That has run all the way from June until August. Our guy, Michael Haney, is involved with that. Last concert is free. It's family friendly. Ben Chapman and Company from Nashville will be here, originally from Columbia, also residing in Nashville. Drew Dixon will be here. It's presented by Audi of Columbia, hosted by Michael Haney. Ben, my understanding, has been on tour with Lainey Wilson, so that's pretty cool. They've also got the Garnet and Black Bash. That's Saturday, August 17th from 5 to 10 p.m. Live music from Ryan Trotty, his full band from 6 to 10. So 5 to 10, come on out. They have bird dogs, they have beer marinated kebabs, local vendors, and a Steel light beer release on draft. And then go ahead and save the date, October 4th. That's going to be their Oktoberfest here at SteelHands Brewing. And SteelHands Brewing, by the way, voted in the Free Times Best of Columbia 2024 Best Local Brewery.
A lot of cool stuff going on here out at SteelHands. Again, appreciate Ashley and everybody for allowing us to be out here once again as we get you closer to the start of football season. So the last segment, we talked about the best games Carolina's ever played on the SEC network. Jacob weighs in, says the sneaky one is the UMass game in 2016, Jake Bentley's first start, and they gave people hope and started the turnaround that season.
It is a sneaky one. I do remember the hype about Jake. Yes. It was strong. No?
It was very strong. That game, oh, yeah, the reason it was sneaky, y'all remember, I knew that game was close. I'd forgotten it was a 6-point game.
No, it wasn't.
It was a 6-point game.
No, I don't remember it that way.
I'm looking at it right here. I'm looking at the box score. It's 34-28. UMass was, at that time, they rolled into Columbia 1-7, 0-3 on the road. So they were not very good. And the Gamecocks were up, but then UMass scored 2 touchdowns towards the end of the game and cut it to 6. It got a little scary. Adam Brenneman, Penn State transfer, was on that team. He had 9 catches for 94 yards and a couple touchdowns.
I didn't know that was him, but I feel like I remember that guy just taking over.
Was Andy Isabella on that UMass
I was
team?
going to say, I was just looking up the box scores. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he had. So Isabella, he only had 5 catches.
That must have been like his freshman year, I think. Freshman or sophomore year.
Yeah, so he had 5 catches. But yeah, that game got a little bit iffy there at the end, obviously.
We talked about the Missouri game back in 2018. Reg weighs in, says Missouri game was wild. A couple buddies and I left during lightning delay. Only time in 38 years I can remember them allowing people to leave and return. Join the student section upon return. Game-winning field goal almost landed on my head. People going nuts. From entertainment standpoint, that was a highly entertaining game.
To me, that was just like a classic college football. Like you never know what's going to happen in college football, and to have the backup quarterback out there, and then to have basically, Carolina, like that game had so many swings, and then it came down to you needed a drive, right? Like you had to drive down and win the game. You were not holding on for dear life. You had to drive down and make a play. And then y'all remember who caught what was not the game-winning touchdown, but the game-winning catch to set up the field goal?
Oh, yeah. Hold on. I know it. I can't remember it. Nah, just, yeah. I had like 2 people in my mind, but I can't.
Kyle Markway. A
Missouri
Missouri native.
Yes.
Against Missouri.
That's right, because I just saw that the other day. Yeah.
Catches it. Parker White hits the game-winning field goal, but then Missouri drives the ball a little bit down the field and has don't they have a long field goal to win this thing that they miss?
I think that's right. For some reason,
like a 52-yarder.
I randomly watched.
I think Missouri kicks a field goal to go up. South Carolina drives down, kicks a field goal to answer and go up. And then Missouri, in a last-ditch effort, misses a 50-plus yarder. So, I mean, this game had everything. They're checking behind me.
Yeah. Okay, Parker White made his field goal with 2 seconds left.
Oh, so there was not a...
So, yeah, Missouri just threw a long pass that Brian Edwards broke up. He was out there.
Oh, I must have just dreamed that.
You conflated. I think you probably just mixed up another crazy Missouri. There's been some wild ones.
I was going to say, too, this is the drive-by-drive for the second half. Touchdown, turnover on downs, field goal, interception, missed field goal, punt, touchdown, fumble, field goal, interception, downs, field goal, end of game. If that doesn't encapsulate what that game was, I don't know what does.
Y'all remember another weird one? I have no idea if this was on SEC Network. You remember the 2017 Louisiana Tech game? Yeah, Skip Holtz was coaching that team.
Going to take a wild guess. That one was, yes, on the SEC Network, 17-16.
Yeah, South Carolina was down, I think, 13-0 going into the fourth quarter, and it looked dire. So yeah, that would be another sneaky one if you're picking top moments. But that ended up being an absolutely crazy game because South Carolina scores a touchdown to go up, but then Louisiana Tech kicks a field goal, and the Gamecocks got the ball with less than a minute left. They started at their own 21, and then
they hit Brian Edwards on a deep ball. That was just
Brian Edwards
thrown up. Prayer
hit him on a deep ball to get down to the 14, and the ever reliable Parker White hits a 31-yarder with 4 seconds left. Or actually, maybe at the end of the game, might have been just a walk-off.
Looking at the results of the 2017 season, it just looks really weird because solid season overall.
That was
obviously.
The experience being there too.
Yeah, I mean, you lose to Georgia, lose to Clemson. Okay, that makes sense. You had the losses of Kentucky and A&M sandwiched around that Louisiana Tech game, and then, I mean, handled your business and all the other ones. That is certainly an up and down type of year.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. That's been
that was the experience.
That was the experience, and it's been that experience several other years. I mean, we were just talking about 2021, how up and down that was.
Well, I appreciate everybody waiting on the Firehouse Subs text line 803-404-6100. That is going to do it for us out here. Again, we've been broadcasting live out at SteelHands Brewing in Casey. Appreciate Ashley and everybody here at SteelHands for allowing us to be here. Always a fun time, and certainly fun once we get into football season as well. And I'm sure we'll be making a return here in the very near future. For Tyler Head, for Wes Mitchell and Chris Clark, I'm Tyler Head. Appreciate you guys, as always, for listening. Coming up next, the halftime show with Terry Ford here on The Game.
.1075 The Game, broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20K off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
Locally owned and operated HVAC services. If you're looking for somebody, let me recommend Krantz Cooling. That's Krantz with a K, Cooling with a K. KrantzCooling.com or 803-672-3224. My family was looking for a local, reliable company who's, been in business a while, good people, supporters of South Carolina, quite frankly, and people we knew were going to do a really good job. Krantz fit that bill. They've been servicing residential and commercial HVAC for residents and businesses in the Midlands since 1983. My guy, Justin Krantz, called him one day, said, hey, we got some problems with one of our older units. Technician came out, took a look at it, let us know what was wrong, what wasn't wrong, gave us a complete full picture. They can give you a free second opinion on coil leaks and compressors, can take care of any of your HVAC needs. Again, that's 803-672-3224 or Krantz Cooling, Krantz with a K, KrantzCooling.com.
Skip the oil, frying with air like a Bosch. Crispy like the county fair like a Bosch. Cook like a Bosch.
Go inside the nest on Gadsden Street in the Vista to find out how you can cook like a Bosch.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
Are you a Gamecock fan that's looking for flexibility to attend the games you want without committing to season tickets? If so, the Gamecock Go Pass is for you. For only $20 a month, your Gamecock Go Pass subscription provides you with access to all non-conference football games, most men's and women's basketball and baseball games, and all softball, soccer, and volleyball games. Plus, you have the ability to add on tickets for conference football games and premier basketball and baseball games for an additional cost. To learn more and sign up today, visit thegamecockclub.com/go.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate.